Hey, everybody.
Hi,
long,
Bob.
long time no see.
Yeah, where have you been? Oh, we were here last week and nobody showed up.
Yeah, I know. It was a
We
really
actually
good show,
were.
the best show we've ever done.
Yeah. You would have laughed. You would have cried. It was fantastic.
The chat room was just awesome.
Yep.
Yeah,
None of
awesomely
you
quiet.
guys were here. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice to see everybody. Some people we haven't seen for a while. Jim
Yeah,
Fulton
so-
and Felicity and
Now, Chen Han, you need to tell us how to pronounce your name there.
where are you listening from, Chen?
Yeah,
Han?
where are you listening from, Chen Han? Nice to see you. Welcome. Be careful with some of these people in the chat room, the live audience, are they're
No.
very
Yeah,
nice.
I'd never reveal
Now,
anything.
now, Eric, that is just not a nice thing to say. Don't do that because everything's been going well for Jeff today.
London.
Okay.
London.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm going to be right back.
All righty. Just up the road from
Yeah.
Captain Nick.
Is our pronunciation of your name even anything close? Shannon?
Is it Chen Han or
Shenhan or like Chenin Blanc?
Chenin Blanc? Oh, very good, Jeff. Everything's a wine.
Well, I like to wine.
And some of the same old farts. Yeah, you're here, Tim.
Hello, Tim and Eric and Felicity
Chen Han.
and Donna.
He's saying
Chen
it's
Han.
yeah, Chen Han. For those of you
Chen
who've
Han.
been around for a while, I don't know if you remember 6 years ago today, Jeff and Nick and Captain Dana and I met up in Miami. We did a show from there, I think a couple of days later, maybe the next day, I can't remember. But that's 6 years ago. We were in Miami having a meetup.
And what was significant about that in hindsight?
What was significant about it?
Well, what was significant was, Nick had a couple of
Oh, well,
days
yes.
of layover and in Miami.
But it was-
But we didn't know at the time
No.
the significance of us getting together with Nick in Miami on that last layover because
Right, we
that was
didn't.
his last layover.
And his last landing as a pilot,
His last
because
landing.
his FO flew back to London.
Yeah.
I actually have a picture, very bad picture of him coming into land. It was pouring rain and it was a dirty window, but I took the picture out of the window of him coming into land. Yeah, 6 years ago. And then 3 years ago, Jeff and I had flown over for the PTUK anniversary. We were staying at Nick and Jilly's house and we had a great time.
Yeah.
We also did a show from Nick's conservatory. You remember that?
I do.
Hi,
Yeah, there was
Kevin.
some spillage on that show.
No, I think it was a good landing, Jim. It was just a bad pick. We're talking about your last landing, Nick. I had a bad picture of it, but I think it was a good landing. I couldn't really see
No,
it.
we don't hear what you're saying.
We're not hearing you,
You're
Nick.
muted.
I need a button that does this. I can't be bothered with all this mousing around. I was just saying it was not a remarkable landing in any formal manner.
But don't you want unremarkable landings? You don't want them to be remarkable, do you?
That's, I guess, yeah. But I mean, I'd like them to be remarkably good. All
Oh,
of
I
them.
see.
That would have been nice. That you can't do that forever.
I think given the weather conditions, I'm sure it was fabulous. And I'm sure
It
you were
was
you were so excited to be meeting up with us. You just
Oh yeah, I was looking forward to that.
Hey, Nick, do me a favor. Is your keyboard in front of you?
Who, me?
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Okay. Press M. There you go. You're muted. You'll have to press it again to unmute.
Don't you press U for unmute?
No, you
Nope.
press M again. It's a toggle.
M again.
I'm again.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And if you do that, how's it sound?
Great.
Oh my God. So we are
Keep doing that.
AJ is going to be with us. He's just gone to pick his daughter up from school, and Steffi is on her way home. And Nick Camacho is busy with work out there in California.
California.
Excellent.
California.
Hey, I've done a plain tale, by the way.
Hi, Micah.
If if there are any pilots out there want to know when they're going to die, listen to the pain.
Listen up. It's a
Yep.
real. it's a
I'm
real-
dying to hear what you have to say.
Oh my God! You're
Too
so
bad I don't have
according to
a sound effect.
The rules, you and I should probably both be dead by now.
Jeff decided to just finish it off.
I just saw a shot, and it was not the rim shot.
No.
It was the gun shot.
Shot. Yeah. Oh, I mentioned I mentioned American Cowboys.
Oh, very good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In the plain tail, but you probably don't want me to.
We've
go.
got some really special.
In the middle of the show. Why not? Go on.
We've got some special artwork that was prepared by one of our community members, depicting Jeff as a cowboy pilot
Yeah.
today.
Well, that's true. Also, yeah, so get ready with that one.
It's a good one. It's great.
All right, I turned all the lights on in here, so full blast. I don't
Looking
think
good.
there's any flickering.
How warm is there today,
flickering or
Jeff?
It was warm. Yesterday was even warmer. Right now in here is 72, 73.
Oh, that's okay then, because I knew you've been
That's
having
like
some warmer weather.
21, 22, I think, 22 inside. And outside it's a little bit cooler. Yesterday it got up to
Yeah.
outside temperatures were getting close to 80 degrees, which is like
That's why I asked, because I
78.
saw how much above normal your temperatures were yesterday.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was a hot one.
Hot. I'm not ready for it to be.
AJ's
like that yet.
back.
Hello, AJ.
I have re-arrived.
Very
All
good.
right, welcome back. Welcome
back. Jeff and I watch the same TV shows.
Yeah. Welcome
Oh,
back.
I know the song and the show.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Yep. And that was what's his name? I
Gabe.
think it's-
Oh,
I'm thinking of
Travolta was on it.
Travolta, yeah.
Yeah.
He was on that show.
Yeah, it was
Mr.
one-
Cattell.
Cut that.
Cotter, yeah.
Hello, Kevin, Jim Fulton, Metro Doc,
Eva,
Sam
there's
Bulldog
Eva.
in
Hi,
Los
Eva.
Angeles, Micah, main man Micah.
Richard
Ava.
Brooks. Hi, Richard
Nice.
Brooks.
Hello.
Nice to have so many ladies
Wow,
in the
good
chat room
crowd.
today. Yeah.
You know what? Look what happens when we just take a week off.
I know. They want to see if we're still alive. When we
Yeah, that's right. They want to hear
Oh,
what
I know
your
what it
excuse
is.
is.
They're thinking,
Not dead yet.
Oh, so one of them must have had plastic surgery or
Yeah,
something. So we're going to get on there and
exactly.
see if we can figure out what
You can
which
tell
one.
that we have not had plastic surgery.
Oh, I
Sadly.
have, but it was below the waist.
No, please don't show us.
Reduction surgery.
Please.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, I know.
too much sometimes, you know.
Oh my God.
At my age, you know, everything droops as you get older.
Oh, don't I know it?
Well,
Don't I know it?
Oh, we make ourselves laugh.
We are so amusing to ourselves.
We are amusing. How are the volumes so far, folks?
Yeah, Micah and Mike Kuipers particularly, who are our audio checkers, fact checkers.
I didn't see Mike Kuipers
Yeah,
in
he's
here.
there.
Sorry, I didn't say hello,
Gina
Mike.
too. We've got all sorts of ladies
What?
in the chat room. Gina,
Oh my gosh.
Eva, Felicity, Donna. This is great.
oh well,
Oh,
I'm
my
glad
goodness.
I picked the subject I did for my show number.
Oh, Micah.
reveal
Micah's,
In that case,
Audio sounds good. What?
yeah.
bloody hell!
And then
Surprised to hear
Bloody
too.
hell.
Micah
Yeah,
was
Travolta's
in,
first
I think
round.
you
was-
need to go for
Micah
a
was in
hearing
the
test.
hospital, and he did a gender rearrangement or reassignment.
Rearrangement. he's put it on his back instead
Okay.
of the front.
Gina's filling us in a little bit more. She met Travolta there. Here we go.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a
He's a
very
aviator.
active aviator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he still have that 707?
I was just going to say 707.
No, I think he's got rid of it. He gave it back to the Australians.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
that's right.
it was
That's right. We
Qantas,
actually
right?
talked about it on the show.
He was doing
Yes, we
promotions
did.
for
Yes.
Qantas.
I remember
Yeah.
I heard he just bought something else that was quite large, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, well.
Oh, okay.
Good to see if I
Need
can
to
Google
a
it.
hippopotamus?
John Travolta's area.
Oh, thank you, Nick. You can type faster than I am.
I doubt it.
My nephew and family are leaving tomorrow from Toronto to Hawaii for 10 days, and then they're flying Honolulu, Vancouver, Whitehorse, and then they're going to Whitehorse in the Yukon for 10 days. I'm sure their packing was very interesting for this trip. They have friends in both places that they're going to visit. So
Interesting.
Well, according to this AI, he's got a Bombardier Challenger 601, an Eclipse 500, and he still owns the Boeing 707.
Well, okay. Now, Gina also has some info on that. She says it's timed out and they can't get it to the museum in Australia.
Oh, well, he's obviously keeping it.
Oh, so that's why he still owns it.
He's got
But he can't fly it.
Galeb G2 and a couple of ultralights.
Yeah, just to jump in with Jeff's hatred of the reporting standards these days.
Yes.
This is from a flying website. Okay, this is an actual website that is purely about reporting on flying.
And so they have no excuse.
None. And it says Travolta is now the holder of 8 jet licenses.
Aw.
Yeah.
So now you
Certificates,
have to have a
perhaps?
license for each.
Qualifications.
Or ratings, or
Qualifications.
what's the other term used for
Tickets.
Endorsements.
endorsements? Yeah. I have to admit, I'm not completely up to speed.
I would
on all those
accept
little things.
ratings or type ratings. That's really all that could qualify for that, because you can't get an endorsement to fly a 707.
In this country, if you get an endorsement on your license, it's not a good thing.
It's like a site. What is it? There's something that they do in the States, and here it's bad, and there it's good.
Getting shot?
No, it's the other way around. A citation is a bad thing in the States, and it's a good thing here. If you're cited, it's nice.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's,
Don't be so down on Cessna.
citations.
And also,
good
we call them
airplane.
slotations.
Citations.
Although
So-
some of the newer ones are pretty damn fast.
So,
Citation
gentlemen,
10.
and I use that
Yes.
term very loosely. Are we waiting for Steffi, or are we going to go ahead and
Well,
start?
I was going to ask if we wanted to do that, or if we should go. She's not going to be back for another 5 to 10.
I think
10?
we should. I think we should go ahead. She won't be
Okay.
long coming, and I think we should get moving.
All right. Let me start that recording. I'm recording on the digital audio workstation, and let me get the Evernote. Where did it go? Evernote. I'm looking at all the different open windows. And none of them I recognize as.
Who are all these windows, and how did they get here?
Here we go. I found it. And let me go to
I
the
thought we were
intro.
with Apple, not PCs.
Well, Apple was the first one that had Windows.
Oh, is it? Do they call them Windows as well?
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. How come
And then that's
Microsoft
why
call them Windows?
Bill Gates decided to call his Microsoft system user interface with Windows.
Don't I call them tabs open?
Yeah, but there are
I
windows. I
guess
mean,
they're
your
on a
window
browser.
has several tabs, perhaps. But
Oh,
they're
I
all
see what you're
windows.
saying. It's the window's the bigger. Got it.
Yeah.
Bigger picture.
The container.
Yes, picture window.
Okay.
God, we're great, Nick. In our own minds.
In your own minds.
Indeed, yes.
What was the other thing I was going to do?
You've checked all your recorders.
Recorders are on.
Yeah.
A distinctive.
Got the.
Yes, Tim. He didn't have the recorder on last time at all.
Yeah,
for
it
the
was
whole
a major failure.
for the whole
It was
show.
in fact, that's why I took the week off, because it was so traumatic.
Traumatic
for me.
Yeah, he had
Trying to
PTSD.
put out a show
Yeah.
without my normal recordings, it was not fun at all.
Yeah. He had post-traumatic non-recorder syndrome.
Oh, I know what I was going to do.
Leaving
I
my
have to get-
office now. ETA 4:50.
Okay,
I
so
need
she
to
ma-
stop.
yeah,
for
she
some
sent that a
gas.
while ago.
she's got to get gas too. So and
Well,
then she'll probably leave her wallet there.
Yeah. I mean,
Proceeding.
she's on her own in a Jeep. She can just do gas anytime if she wants to.
Yeah, but knowing Steffi, she's probably sucking fumes. She's not that.
That's disgusting if you've got gas.
Okay.
Actually, I found out something very interesting about the Willys Jeep in World War II. If you undid a bolt on each of the front headlights, you could rotate them so they came up and pointed at the engine so that you could use the headlights to do nighttime maintenance on your engine.
Wow, that's very cool.
I know, it was very cool.
Until the battery ran out.
Yeah.
So you could change the battery. Oops.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Tim wants us to test Roger, but we did before we started the stream.
But we got to make Tim happy.
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Still sounds good.
Airline Pilot Guy episode.
Okay.
Still good.
Good. Let me go to media assets. Ooh, nice assets.
Hi, Tanya.
Oh, Tanya.
Another
girl.
Another.
Yeah,
that's great.
Wow.
Love it.
A takeover.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I'm all for females in aviation.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I am.
So am I. Damn good pilots.
They're my favorite people, actually, females.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. Okay.
Except for me.
No, rubbish.
That's not true. You're my favorite female.
Oh, yeah.
You fishing for compliments
Hi,
again.
Bill Salton.
All right. Shall we do the countdown thing?
Let's
All
go.
right.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 652.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of February 24th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a Delta flight flips over while landing in Toronto, shearing off a wing.
The aircraft is upside down and burning.
And two small planes collide in midair near Tucson. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, the final checkout. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and lock positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 652 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins in
New York City!
I should say 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me today from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire,
a former professional photographer, now a very serious amateur dog photographer, a former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Thanks for that lovely intro, Jeff, and nice to see everyone on board. APG 652. In 1911, Beatrix de Rijk was the first Dutch woman to earn a pilot's license, French certificate number 652. A journalist writing in L'Aérophile commented on her cool-headedness and bravery as which would be the envy of the uglier sex.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Wow. This really, I think a show title might have to be "Ladies' Night."
I like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Surrounding
Good. I'm sure I
this
could
this
get
theme.
some nice pictures for that.
Yeah, well, that's APG After Dark.
Yeah.
So make sure you stay tuned in,
Yeah.
folks. Okay. And also joining us from the North Woods of the the North Georgia Atlanta suburban forests, race car driver, high performance, high altitude, tail dragging, and complex endorsed commercial instrument rated pilot with an affinity for self-taught haute cuisine and anything with enough horsepower to kill him. It's AJ Alpha Juliet Shrimp.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Last week was really boring because a week without APG is no week at all.
Oh, it's like a week without sunshine.
Yeah.
Thanks. We missed everybody. And also, last but not least, at least for now, a little bit later, we'll hopefully have Dr. Steph joining us, but from her studio in Toronto, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's the lovely Liz Piper.
Hello, everybody. Snowy Toronto. Here I am.
All right. It's a place with snow.
Yes, exactly.
She's got to go.
I've got to go. Bye, everybody. Have a good show.
Thank you. Oh,
Cheers.
I like it.
Yeah. That's very good.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's talk some aviation news. I have to interrupt by saying hardly anything happened since we've done the last show.
Stand by for news.
Okay, so not long ago, there was just little Learjet 40 just kind of hanging out at the Toronto Pearson Airport, holding short of a runway, just kind of minding in his own business, and was taking some video from his phone camera, I'm assuming, and this is what happened. So he's looking out the window, and why is it not working? It is. There we go. Oh, okay. Let me try that again. There we go. So that's the Learjet holding short, and he's kind of zooming in a little bit on this airplane coming in for landing. 1-5 left, I believe. And okay. Okay, 2-3. And
Boom.
wait, hang on. I meant to have my sensor button ready to go. Yeah, it wouldn't have made any difference. Anyway, so an airplane crashed right in front of him. Let's see. Let's take another look at this, just because it's pretty spectacular landing here, and this way I won't be talking over it. Cover your ears if you have kids. Boom. Wow. No flare.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I will censor that in the audio only podcast. Okay. Yeah, he's telling Tower, did you see the crash? Yeah, they did. Okay, so let's remove that from. Okay, thank you. So that was a pretty spectacular scene, I would say, from the Aviation Herald. We have this, and Endeavor Airlines, even though everybody's calling it Delta. Of course, you look at the airplane, it's painted like a Delta airplane. All the uniforms are Delta. So I guess we just call it Delta, but it's actually a company named Endeavor, fully owned by Delta Airlines. Endeavor Airlines Canadair CRJ 900, working on behalf of Delta Airlines. Registration November 932 X-Ray Juliet, performing flight 4819 from Minneapolis to Toronto with 76 passengers and 4 crew. Landed on Toronto's runway 23 Thank you, Liz, for straightening me out on that one. Runway 23 at 2:12 in the afternoon. Came to stop on the runway inverted after it really... Yeah, right, okay. So they came down as we saw in the video, and I'm sure that, listening to the audio-only podcast, you probably don't need to watch it because you've already seen it probably many times. The CRJ 900 just looked like it didn't flare at all. It just kept coming down and just slammed into the runway. One of the right wing initially, the right main gear collapsed and the right wing snapped off essentially. And because the left wing was still attached, it was still producing lift, kind of just twisted, rotated around its longitudinal axis and flipped over and came to a stop inverted. And both main gear and the tailplane separated from the airframe. And big fireball. And miraculously, there were no fatalities. One person was critically injured. Of course, this was the initial report. I think there were a couple more people critically injured. 3 people went to hospitals, and I think now, is it only one that's still hospitalized? Oh, okay. Okay. So Liz is telling us that they have all been released from the hospital. Okay. The NTSB reported the NTSB is leading a team of U.S. investigators to assist the TSB, the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, with their investigation of today's accident of the Delta Airlines Bombardier CRJ 900 at Toronto Pearson. Let's see. Okay. So there hasn't been any further detail as far as I'm aware yet of anything like, like a preliminary report or anything like that. It may be too soon for that. Okay. So they're looking at all the pieces and trying to put this whole thing together. And of course, looking at the black boxes, which are not black, they're orange, and the flight data recorder and the cockpit. Why do we keep saying cockpit voice recorder? I thought that you're not supposed to say that word. Anyway, the CVR,
just like air missions, not supposed to say that anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
No,
it's airmen again. Yeah. Anyway,
make up your mind.
I know it's very confusing. Very confusing. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay. So, I mean, are any of you here on the panel aware of any not improvements, but updates or any other new information regarding
Not
this?
that I've seen anywhere.
No. I gathered that Delta have asked all their pilots to underline the word flare in all their flight manuals. But other than that, I don't think anything is.
Oh yeah, we see flare in the background.
I hadn't spotted that.
Wow,
well done, Liz.
That is like inopportune. The timing of that photo, or opportune if you if you look at it our way.
I'm disappointed I haven't seen a copy of that picture with a question mark photoshopped onto that airplane.
I know.
I bet there's one out there, or
it's
too
bad that the pilot.
People on Twitter are trying to do exactly that.
It's too bad that the pilot flying at the time didn't look over and see the name of that airline.
Well,
or maybe that's what distracted him.
From the video, and maybe it's just the angle or something, but it looked like he had a pretty high nose attitude throughout the whole descent. And I don't know if I've never flown a CRJ, don't know that particular behavior, but
the 200 comes in at a nose down, uncomfortably so, I think, because it doesn't have leading edge devices, slats, that kind of thing. So they have to go. They're pretty fast. I think I could be wrong. I have not flown either or this fleet of aircraft, but I think the 700 and the 900 both kind of fly more like they have leading edge devices, and then much more like your typical airliner flies with a slight nose up. I didn't, when I saw the video, I didn't think it didn't look unusual to me, the attitude. It just looked to me like it just wasn't, a flare at all. Yeah. No, Bill Sullivan says lawn dart, but that was the F-16. That's the lawn
Yeah, you
dart.
make a good point though, because if you can either fail to move the controls, or you can let the speed get low, so that when you do try and flare,
There's
it
no
has
authority.
very little effect, and you've built up a bit of a rate of descent because the aircraft's just heading towards the runway, and there's not much that's going to stop it. So it might, I guess, you're familiar with this configuration of aircraft, Jeff. So if you pull the throttles back a little early, it can be pretty bad. And if you let the speed get too low, it can be pretty bad on that time.
Well, it really depends on the actual aircraft itself, and of course the atmospheric conditions at the time.
Yeah.
So I would say, like in the McDonnell Douglas jets that I flew, the MD-88, MD-90, Boeing 717, you could pull the power back early as long as you didn't have a very strong headwind. But if you did that the same thing in a 727, you're going to have a very, very bad landing, and very similar to what we watched there, except that I think Boeing makes it much more robust landing gear assembly. At least they did on the 727. So it would have been fine, I think, with that kind of descent rate, I'm guessing. But that didn't look that unusual to me. But one of the things that was kind of controversial at first on social media, which we love, was that they were talking about the pilots and their qualifications. And one of the rumors was that the captain had originally flown for Masaba, and then that was one of the airlines that kind of was grouped together to become Endeavor Air. And I guess they have a flow through or flow up kind of an agreement for the pilots of that airline with Delta Airlines, and that he had gone to Delta for flight training. And then, of course, the rumor was that he couldn't pass the training program and returned to the regional affiliate, Endeavor. Now, the Delta Airlines, the parent company, put out this a day or two later. He said that just to kind of defend, or let's see, what does it say? Put to rest the disinformation in social media containing false and misleading assertions. The captain from Masaba and then a progenitor company of Endeavor hired the captain in October of 2007. He has served both as an active duty captain and in pilot training and flight safety capacities. Assertions that he failed training events are false. Assertions that he failed to flow into a pilot position at Delta due to training failures are also false. Now, of course, we know with the language and the words that you use, that all could be very true. I'm sure it's absolutely true, but there might be some other things going on, little nuances. Yeah, thank you, Liz. But of course, we'll find that out during the investigation. The other thing was the first officer was a new hire, hired in January 2024 by Endeavor and completed training in April. She's been flying for Endeavor since that time. As with any airline pilot, her flight experience exceeded the mandated minimum requirements set by U.S. federal regulations. Assertions that she failed training events are false. Okay, so that Delta was trying to put to rest some of the possible misinformation out there. So, yeah. Okay, the winds. So when I first received information about this, somebody had quoted like the winds were gusting to 53 knots. Turns out, I think there was steady state like 24 and gusting to 33 or something like that. And it was about a 40 degree off runway heading. I think they were landing on 23 and it was a 270 wind coming from the west. And so about 40 degrees off. So it wasn't a huge crosswind, wasn't that, big of a headwind either, but I guess it was gusty. So you could tell that a lot of the pilots and flights at the time mentioned that, it was a little challenging landing at the time, but it wasn't anything out of limits for the aircraft and its performance. So Neil has a question or comment. I've seen the Learjet pilots criticized for filming whilst holding short. What are the rules there? Well, I don't believe there are any rules that prohibit it, Neil, for a non-Part 121 carrier. They were probably operating under Part FAA or FAR Part 91 or 135 at the time, probably most likely 91. Which is the rules regarding cameras and videotaping and electronic devices and all that kind of stuff are much less or not unrestricted, but less restrictive than in the airlines in the Part 121. And then individual airlines can even be more strict with their restrictions regarding those devices. But I don't think, AJ, I think you'd agree that that's something that, you're out there. I mean, basically that kind of flying is the kind of flying that you do, Part 91, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just a different type of airplane.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I don't think that there are any restrictions to what he was doing. I'm not sure why people were criticizing him for that.
That's
yeah.
It's the beautiful part about 91 is we can take off 00. There's basically very little restrictions on what we can and can't do versus like 121. You guys have takeoff minimums. Part 91, I can take off with zero visibility.
That explains when I got checked out at Riverside in a 150 so that I could take up my mom and my dad on individual flights because there weren't enough seats, enough capacity on the 150 or 152. But we took off. I mean, we were in the briefing room in Riverside, California, and it was like that typical thick California, what do they call that, marine layer that had come in and was going inland. It was very foggy. And the guy goes, "Okay, let's go." And I'm looking out the window going, what do you mean? And he goes, "Well, let's go fly." And I'm going, how are we going to do that? And he goes, "Special VFR." And I went, I thought he was kidding. I really did. And then we walked out there and got into the airplane. We take off, and of course, you get 10 feet above the ground, and then it's clear in a million.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, I hope we'll be able to find the airport. I hope this blows off eventually. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say, I have no trouble finding the airport as long as you're just looking straight down.
Right there.
Yes.
Right there. Yeah. Okay.
The problem with that is, though, every time it's
yes.
there it went. There it went.
Yeah. Depends on how fast you're going. If you're going really fast, looking straight down doesn't really work out. Yeah. We'll be looking for updates and reports regarding this. And looks like Dr. Steph is there with us. You ready to join us? There. Hey.
Yeah, I can do that. I was just deciding if I need to open the door for the dogs or just ignore them until they stop,
do whatever you think
banging
is
against
best.
the door. I'm gonna let them hang out outside the
Okay.
studio for now.
Well, for what it's worth, I don't hear anything in the background.
Yeah, I don't think you guys will hear it. It's just I'm not
Just
sure what they're doing
irritating
to
for
the
you.
outside of my door.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, if you want to save your door, go ahead and open it up.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's
Just
part of
replace
the
the door.
part of the ambiance. Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks.
How was
Good to be
work?
here. It was work.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, nothing bad, nothing good, just work. Just the
Okay.
usual.
Well, we're glad that you were able to join us. We were just starting with the first news item, and we're kind of wrapping it up here, unless you have anything to add regarding it.
I do not, but as soon as
Okay.
I sat down and joined you guys, I need to step away for a brief moment for a phone call too. I'm sorry. I'll be
All
right back.
No problem. Okay. Let's see here. The next item we have is also a video. And so let's go ahead and let's see, how am I going to do this? Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Let me start off by saying This is from a few different news sources, and it just happened a couple of days ago up in Chicago at Chicago's Midway Airport, and there was a near miss, a runway incursion that occurred, and yeah, near hit. That's probably a better way to say it. And let's see, I have some audio I'd like to play. I guess I should set it up a little bit more. The two aircraft involved were a flex jet. Oh, look at that. My reactions. I forgot to turn off my reactions. A business jet. I think I'm not sure if it's a Cessna or a Hawker. I can't really tell. I'm looking at the picture of the on the video. But anyway, it's a private jet, a business jet, that ended up crossing a runway that a Southwest 737 was coming in to land, and really just about to touch down on the runway. I mean, very close to touching down, and they initiated a go-around. And so the thing I'd like to do here is start off by playing some audio from liveatc.net. And the FlexJet, the business jet, the fractional owner company, their call sign's FlexJet, even though sometimes it sounds like they're saying like flagship, not FlexJet, but they're saying FlexJet in the call sign information. And they're talking to ground control to get taxiing instructions to head over to, I think, 22 right for takeoff. So that means they have to cross a bunch of runways at Midway Field. And so let's go ahead and listen to some of this audio from the FlexJet.
Ground, FlexJet 560, signature with Tango. And last call again.
Okay, interrupting quickly, signature is the fixed base operator or fixed base operation, or what we just call them FBOs. That's kind of where a lot of the general aviation and business aviation, they kind of hang out and do their flight planning and fueling and parking and that kind of thing.
FlexJet 560, signature with Tango taxi.
FlexJet 560, runway, actually departure frequency is 119.35. Runway 22 left. What taxi are you coming out of?
We're over at Whiskey, FlexJet 560.
FlexJet 560, roger, taxi via Foxtrot and hold short runway 22 right. Plan for runway 22 left.
All right, plan for 22 left, Foxtrot Whiskey, FlexJet 560.
Now, something that was like really stood out to me was the fact that he didn't read back that instruction properly, because the ground control guy said to hold short of a runway, and we are required to say that we're going to hold short of a runway, and he did not. I'm not sure if that's going to be a factor in this incursion incident or not. By the way, this audio, I cut out a bunch of extraneous audio from other aircraft and also compressed it for time.
Southwest 367.
Hey, ground, FlexJet 560, just want to confirm our taxi instructions for 22 left from signature.
Yeah, where on the ramp are you, sir?
We're at Signature Aviation at Alpha taxi.
Okay, taxi Alpha, Foxtrot.
And Liz, you can put that airport diagram up so we can kind of sort of follow along.
Foxtrot, hold short of 22 right.
Alpha Fox, hold short, 22 right, FlexJet 560.
FlexJet 560, turn left on runway 4 left, cross runway 31 left, and hold short of runway 31 center.
Right, left on 4 left, cross 22 or 13 center, FlexJet 560.
No.
FlexJet 560 negative, cross runway 31 left, hold short runway 31 center.
Cross 31 left, hold short 31 center, FlexJet 560.
I will say.
I will take, we'll cross 2 left on hotel.
Okay, while this is happening, we're going to go ahead and now switch over to the video. If we'll put that on the stage, Liz. And so while all that was going on, and you could hear the controller in the background telling FlexJet 560 to stop. Oh, okay. Right here. No problem. Okay, here we go. Oh, I did it again.
Southwest 2504 going around.
2504, roger that, maintain 3000.
Flagship 560, hold your position there.
2504 up to 3000. Hold position, Flagship 560.
Flagship 560, continue across the hold short of hotel.
Cross the hold short hotel, Flagship 560.
Flagship 560, your instructions are to hold short of runway 31 center.
So 2504, when able, turn left heading 220.
Okay, that was the Southwest jet that had to go around.
Left heading 220, Southwest 2504.
Okay. Also, let's take a look at this next video from the view of the Southwest jet coming in.
A Navy jet crashed.
Nope, that's a Navy jet that crashed into San Diego. Let me try this one. Yeah, there we go. The Southwest coming in for landing, and then we'll see very clearly here. Look, he's almost touching down in the flare, and then we see in the distance the flex jet, and then Southwest. Yeah, that's how close that was, folks. Now, I know there's some compression there with the long lens, but still, that was close, because these runways at Chicago's Midway Airport are not super long runways like at O'Hare. These are, what we would call
that runway is
short
6,500
runways.
feet.
6,500 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the view from the Southwest jet coming in. And now I'd like to finish this off before we start a discussion by playing the rest of the audio.
769. The 4440 is ready to taxi.
Flagship 560, hold your position there.
Hold position, Flagship 560. Hey, ground Southwest 411, push Bravo 3 Tango.
Flagship 560, continue across the hold short of hotel.
Cross the hold short hotel, Flagship 560.
Flagship 560, your instructions are to hold short of runway 31 center. You hold right there, sir, don't move.
Hold position, 560.
Flagship 560, possible pilot deviation, advise you contact Midway Tower at a number when you're ready to copy.
Flagship 560, ready to copy.
Flagship 560, it's 773-884.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, because in this audio, the actual full number was released there, so I don't want to get anybody in trouble or have the Midway Tower receive a whole bunch of telephone calls. Yeah, anyway. So, sorry, I hit the wrong button there. Yeah, so that was another close call, and we've been talking a lot about these runway incursion close calls now for a couple of years, and they seem to be increasing in frequency, and it's of great concern to everybody out there, pilots and passengers alike. That this is just a matter of time, it seems, before one of these is going to result in a terrible tragedy. So, yeah, I guess let's discuss this. What do you, Liz, Steph, you have an attachment, a history with Chicago, and I think that from what I recall, it seems like you fly in and out of Midway a lot more than O'Hare. So you have a lot of experience flying probably in both.
In years past, I will say not recently, but nothing really has changed with the runway configurations in the past few years at Midway. Mm-hmm. A couple of things. I mean, this one actually is really pretty straightforward as to what happened. So the FlexJet crew read back the hold short instruction, and then for whatever reason did not actually hold short of the runway they were supposed to hold short of, resulting in this particular incident. There's, I think we've covered other near misses, near hits at Midway in the past with landing and departing traffic using intersecting runways as well. Especially if you're on the departure end of, let's see if I can get them right without looking at the diagram there, 4 right or 3-1 center. Yeah. You can't, that traffic can't see each other because there's buildings and hangars in the way. Even though they're, it's kind of a flat piece of land, a big square. And those are commonly used runways at the same being used simultaneously in certain weather and wind conditions. But yeah, my take on this one is it's pretty straightforward. They read back the instruction correctly, but then for whatever reason didn't do it. I have a lot of thoughts on entering runways and crossing runways, and I'm sure we'll get into that discussion. But
I would object to the fact that they read it back correctly.
They read it back incorrectly the first time. They read it back correctly the second time.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, after they were corrected, they read it. After they were corrected, they did read it back correctly. So I'm going to give them that. So
Okay,
that
we'll give
should
them
have
partial
been-
credit.
Yeah.
APG credit.
Sure.
50%.
No, the first time they missed it completely. The second time they read it back incorrectly, because there's two or three actually runways with the 3-1 designation. I think there's 3 actually left.
I think there
left,
used to
center,
be,
and
but
right.
if
I
you
can't remember
put
if the
them-
one is a taxiway now or not.
Yeah, they
either way.
did. Yeah, but put the new chart up, Liz, if you don't mind. The first one we were looking at, the Jeppesen, is the one I'm used to looking at, but this one was dated 2009. This is the current FAA chart, and so this.
So initially they're on 4 left, and they're supposed to cross 3-1 left, hold short, 3-1 center.
Yes.
And they did. That was their final read back. They did eventually read that back correctly.
But you'll notice in this diagram that we're looking at, which will be in the show notes, the runway 3-1 left is not really much larger than what a typical taxiway looks
pretty
like.
tiny.
Yeah, very, very narrow.
And
I'm
because they're
thinking
all
that maybe
intersecting
they didn't.
runways,
I-
there's actually there's not the same, at least I don't think there are, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, there's not the same markers really indicating that you're going to be entering a runway, except for the signage on the side.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
There
this.
is-
Yeah,
there
there's
is
gotta be
signs.
signage.
There's signage on the to the side of the runway, but on the actual runway itself that they're using as a taxiway, there's not anything on the pavement, really, as
Correct.
far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm looking at the satellite view right now, and it's 4 left. Imagine it goes over the top of 3-1
center.
left. Yeah, no, left. Center.
Left.
Center. The bigger runway actually does have a white line.
A white line. Okay.
But there is no hold short line, and again we mentioned the signs, but that's a 150 foot wide runway plus a little extra space for the signs, so they're awfully far away if you're on the center of the runway. So not saying that's an excuse, but could be a contributing factor of that sign way over there. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think
good
that
point,
is.
AJ.
Yeah. So as soon as you start making that turn and going, I could see how you may have missed the fact that you've already passed that first taxiway, and now you're passing this runway, which you're thinking maybe is the taxiway. And then you also see on the other side of the one that they were supposed to hold short of, which is now a taxiway. It's a 150 foot wide taxiway over there, which used to be runway 3-1 right. But apparently they've decommissioned it as a runway, and it now is just a taxiway. So it's basic bottom line here. It's very, very confusing, and that's why you have to use utmost vigilance and great briefings before any of your wheels starts to move, because once you're going, it's very confusing. You have to know exactly where you are, and there are a lot of distractions going on in these jets, and taxi procedures and checklists and performance data and all this stuff going on. So, I mean, it's a tough job. Gina in our live audiences says Blancolirio, Juan Brown, his video had a picture showing their hold short lines there.
Okay, that's
now.
good.
Okay.
I see the hold short lines on 3-1 right, which is the closed runway. It's now Taxiway Hotel.
Yeah.
But this is dated 2025, and I don't see any hold short lines on the actual runway itself. On 4 left.
It's very confusing, and you have to be very careful about all these things. And what happened to the, Captain Nick, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Before you ever cross any kind of a runway, what happened about looking out the window? I mean, that should have been clear as day, this 737 coming in for landing on the surface you're about to cross over. Come on.
On a beautiful day in Chicago.
Yeah, it was a nice
About
day.
as nice as it gets.
It's the first officer's side of the aircraft. The captain would be trying to peer across his cockpit. So I don't know what the first officer was doing, but really the emphasis is on their duty to check that. The captain is going to peer out there as well, but it's not so easy to see an airplane that's sort of on the approach across the cockpit. Interestingly, they have hotspots marked. Now, airfield maps have hotspots where there is a danger of encroaching on a runway. They put these little marks on the runway that you have to pay particular care when you're passing one of these. There isn't one for anything on the route that this aircraft was taking. So, if the airport authorities and the FAA don't recognise that as a potential threat, then perhaps they ought to stick a few more on. But, that's really closing the door after the horse has bolted, quite
I think
honestly.
you could circle all of Midway as a
Yeah, I was
hotspot.
going to say, you can just cover the entire airfield map with these HS
Interestingly,
points.
yeah, the earlier one, the one that's dated May of 2009, does have a hotspot marking kind of in the area where they were.
One other distinction there, Jeff, is that the earlier one is a JEP chart, a Jeppesen chart, and
No,
they're
this is the
different.
JEP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the earlier one, correct?
Yes.
The newer chart
Yes.
is an FAA chart.
Right.
Generally
because I
has
don't have
much
access
less
to,
information.
I know. And I don't have,
I have the current
Jeppesen
Jeppesen chart, and it's not marked there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say that whether it's an FAA or a Jeppesen, if there's a hotspot, they got to be on both.
Yeah, there's
so I
only
don't think
4
it's-
listed on the current Jeppesen
Yeah.
chart.
So
Which I think
for
is
some
the
reason
same.
they decided to remove that. But yeah,
Now,
I don't
to go
know
through
if
the
that's going to.
procedure you do when you're going to cross a runway. Sorry, I was just carrying on from earlier. First thing you do is you stop any checklists you're currently doing, so that there's absolutely no distractions. You both acknowledge the fact that you're going to cross the runway, and you both go heads out. If you've got a TCAS display, you have a look at that to see if there's anyone on the approach. So you look visually, and you use your electronic displays. You confirm to each other that you've got a clearance to cross, which they didn't have, and then having looked down the runway and on the approach in both directions, in case there's someone coming in with an emergency on the other end of the runway and just going against the flow, and you didn't realize it because you're not on the right on a frequency to understand that. You look both ways, and then you turn all your damn lights on, and then you cross. Now, does everyone do that all the time? Well, sadly, no. But I think if everyone did, a little bit more disciplined about the procedures you follow to safely cross a live runway, these things might be happening less frequently.
And I know that Steph knows what I'm going to say next. The whole issue about frequencies and crossing runways and not being on the same frequency that people are taking off and landing on and crossing on. Again, I know there are arguments against this, but I just don't understand why we are not using the same frequency for active runways. It just doesn't make. And I should say that Captain Al agrees with me. I saw him posting on social media.
Oh, we
the
don't
same.
trust him. No,
Well, it's Captain Al. No, he's an amazing pilot and pilot trainer.
Very handsome.
And he's very handsome,
just
of
like
course, and he
yourself.
likes to eat ice cream and chicken nuggets. That's right.
Yeah.
If you've
But
ever been
that
to an
would be
APG
just
meetup,
one more
you'd know
thing
that.
in the list of things you should do is try and listen out if you have the opportunity. But with the lookout and the TCAS and the care you take, that should be adequate. But it obviously wasn't.
Okay, so MetroDoc in our live audience says, should pilots switch from ground radio to tower radio when crossing an active runway? No, not unless it's a procedure for you to do so. You would have to be directed to do that, so that positive control is maintained. Now, some people have used the technique in your secondary radio, putting up the frequency for the tower if you're on ground or vice versa. That gets a little tricky because, we're also supposed to be listening to guard, or when you're on the ground operation mode, you're listening to, or you have your company ramp frequency in there or company frequency. So there, you only have basically two radios, and you have obviously air traffic control is the primary, and then all those other things that we just mentioned are part of what we use the secondary radio for. So you can't listen to everything. We don't have 10 radios in there, and it would be very confusing anyway if we did. So again, I just Bill in Toronto, who is a pilot, a professional pilot, for Acme North, on the ground, crossing runway kills, and every other error only embarrasses. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Might point out also, Jeff, that these guys were, coming up to a runway, even if they'd switched to tower frequency at that point, chances are the Southwest 73 had his landing clearance given to him miles out. So
That's
the
true.
chances are they wouldn't have heard that anyway, because it would already have been given. So if perhaps air traffickers only gave a landing clearance as you approach the runway, rather than giving one a conditional clearance miles ahead, then that might serve, but as an additional indicator. But no,
and it also should be noted, I think, based on the video that we saw of the actual video of the Southwest, going around, and we see the FlexJet crossing, that the FlexJet was moving quite rapidly. Something that I always, guard against and advise that people not do when you're taxiing. Take a nice slow taxi pace.
Walking pace.
Right.
All right, too. So while you're mentioning it, kudos to the 737 boys for spotting it and going around, because I don't think anyone told them.
No.
I think they did it off their own bat. And when they came up on the radio, they weren't getting all into a fuss about it. They sounded very cool and calm. And I suspect they were a well-drilled crew going through their go-around procedures, starting to clean the airplane up. They all just sounded as cool as cucumbers, not the fact they just avoided a possible disastrous collision.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I hope we come up with a solution to this so we don't have to cover any more of these things. I'm afraid, sadly, that we will, but hopefully we'll have a good result as we had in this one. All right. An update on, this is from the Aviation Herald, an update on the Washington, D.C. mid-air collision involving the PSA operating for American CRJ-7 and the Army helicopter, the Black Hawk. Let's see. Liz, is there something highlighted in here, or is it the whole thing? Okay, the update here is on the 14th of February, the NTSB reported the Black Hawk was doing a check ride. The instructor was the pilot monitoring. The crew was likely wearing night vision goggles. There's no evidence on the cockpit voice recorder that they were not wearing goggles. I think because they have to state something if they're not wearing the goggles. So that's the assumption here, I think. There are no defined boundaries on the helicopter routes, despite the blue lines on the charts. The helicopter was following helicopter route 1. The pilot indicated they were at 300 feet, while the instructor said that they were at 400 feet. That discrepancy is subject of review. So in other words, the two altimeters that they were referencing in the cockpit itself were off, it seems, to be about 100 feet. When crossing over the Memorial Bridge, the instructor told that they were 300 feet and needed to descend, and the pilot flying replied they were descending. The portion of tower advising helicopter crew that the CRJ was circling towards runway 33 was not audible on the Black Hawk's crew. That's just, who was writing this? The NTSB. It just doesn't sound
Simon.
very... Yeah, Simon. Yeah, okay. His English is not his first language. Yeah, so in other words, what we heard when the tower controller was giving the warning to the helicopter and calling out traffic and saying that that their traffic was circling towards runway 33. Actually, I don't think they said circling. I think they said is on 33 or the approach to 33 or something like that. But anyway, it's understood that that's sort of a circling maneuver to the other runway. But apparently, because of the radio communications at the time, that was blocked, and they didn't hear that part, which is critical. 32 seconds before impact, the helicopter passed the southern tip of Haines Point. 20 seconds prior to impact, tower queried the crew whether they had the CRJ in sight. A conflict alert was audible in the background of that transmission. The CRJ crew received an automatic advisory, traffic, on their TCAS system. 17 seconds before impact, tower directed the Black Hawk to pass behind the CRJ. The cockpit voice recorder of the Black Hawk did not have the first portion of the transmission to pass behind the jet because the helicopter crew were keying their microphone to talk to ATC. Okay, that's one of the weaknesses of this kind of radio system, that if more than one person is talking at a time, it sometimes is completely covered up and you can't hear what they're saying. Now, sometimes you can, depending on the strength of the transmitter, etc. The Black Hawk crew reported that the traffic was in sight and requested visual separation, which was approved. The instructor thought ATC wanted them to turn left towards the east bank of the Potomac. 7 seconds before impact, the CRJ rolled out for final on runway 33 at 344 feet. 1 second prior to impact, the CRJ increased pitch, reaching 9 degrees nose up, with the elevators deflected near their maximum nose up range. And at that time, the aircraft was at 313 feet. The radio altitude of the Black Hawk was at 278 feet at the time of the collision and had been steady for 5 seconds. The radio altitude, 278 feet, may not be what the crew saw on their barometric altimeters. The NTSB is confident that the helicopter was 278 feet above the Potomac. The flight data recorder did not record the barometric altitude indicated to the pilots. The altimeter setting was not recorded by the flight data recorder. The FDR also did not record GPS data. The NTSB is facing challenges to determine what altitude was shown to the pilots on their primary flight instruments. Both the helicopter and the CRJ were on VHF frequencies, though different VHF frequencies. The helicopter was capable of transmitting ADS-B out. However, they did not transmit this data out. It's currently not known whether the ADS-B was turned off or not. All right. Discuss. Anybody have anything to say about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that's pretty self-explanatory and still trying to figure out what was, that's a lot of objective data there, and then trying to figure out some of the subjective things that we don't know, which we may never know.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they'll be able to determine something, but as it's clearly stated here, they're experiencing challenges with determining exactly what it was that the helicopter pilots were referencing or looking at, and what those instruments were actually reading. But clearly, that's the key part of this, is that fact that had the helicopter been no higher than 200 feet above the Potomac, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
No, that's exactly right. And I'd be very surprised, although I'm willing to be surprised, if they were relying on a barometric altimeter when they had a radio altimeter, which is extremely accurate and is really, if you want to measure your height above the ground beneath you, which in this case was water, that's, I thought, the only altitude reference they would be scanning, looking at. I can't imagine that it wasn't easily available to them on an instrument. So to a certain extent, what barometric pressures were set, I think would probably be irrelevant, but I'm willing to be.
So in your experience, Captain Nick, and I'm mostly referencing your military experience, and you did a lot of low-level, I don't know if a lot, but you've done low-level flying. Is the radio altimeter the primary reference?
For me, it was, yes, in my roles, in a ground attack aircraft, or just any time you're close to the ground. If you're trying to judge your height above the ground, if it's a little hard to see, particularly when you're out over the water, and you hadn't got many visual references like cows and sheep and trees and things to judge your height. You're scanning the radar. We used to bug the radar at a minimum height to stop you getting too close to the ground or the sea, and it would set an alarm off if you went past that bug. But yeah, it was primarily in our head-up displays when the aircraft flew that had them. It was displayed there, and I would never look at a pressure altimeter when doing that kind of low-level flying.
So it's likely that the military vehicle here, the helicopter, would likely have been, or should have been,
I would have thought so, but
altimeter.
I don't know what their instrumentation was like.
Yeah.
So,
The reason why I ask is that all my flying, when you're actually actively flying the path, or whether it be vertical or horizontal, but in this case vertical, the primary reference is the baro altimeter, and not the radio is used for precision approaches, knowing when you actually hit that point in space that you're transiting through. It's not like you're flying a radio altimeter at a steady state to maintain a certain height above the ground, because you're kind of in that process on a glide slope, and that's my only experience with using a rad alt as opposed to the baro. So that's good information.
Yeah, I mean the radio altimeter is immediate. There's no lag. It's very accurate. Whereas the opposite is really true of a pressure altimeter. There is lag. It depends on how often the barometric pressure is measured. There are quite significant errors that can occur between instruments that still mean the instrument is perfectly serviceable, but you can have 75 feet or even 100 feet perhaps difference between altimeters, or the true altitude and what the instrument's giving you. So it's not an accurate piece of kit to use when you're very close to the ground. So if they're supposed to be flying below 200 feet at night, I would have been very surprised if they had one eye on their radio altimeters nearly all the time.
Ava asks a great question. Out of curiosity, whereabouts on the fuselage is the set point for the altimeter? I think she's referring to the radio altimeter. Does it take the altitude of the fuselage of being the main gear, or closer to the cockpit? And I think the answer, Captain Nick can give you a more accurate answer, but in my mind, I'm thinking it really depends on the airplane itself and the manufacturer, and where they decide I don't know if there's a specification where it has to be, in reference to this spot on every single airplane or not. Captain Nick?
On military aircraft, they're small airplanes, they're 20, 30 feet front to back, so it doesn't really matter where you stick it. On a big airliner, you're going to probably put it after the undercarriage on the main fuselage. So as you're doing your walk around, as you're doing the tail area, if you look up on the belly of the airplane, on the flat part of the fuselage, not as it starts to curve up towards the tail, you'll see the radio altimeter they're just patches, transmitters and receivers there. Because on an airliner, you want to primarily it's used when you're in the flare, and you want to know the lowest part of your airplane, how close that is to the ground. So in the flare, in my airplanes, it was just the tail just before it started curving up towards the point at the end of the fuselage.
And IHAL Boxes adds, it can be anywhere where the least amount of interference is expected, as long as it reads 0 on touchdown in a landing attitude. So
there you go. You can put it on a big stick if you want.
Yeah, you open up the window and you hang it out on a big stick.
But you're reliant on it not being interfered with. You're quite right, but
yes.
There's not a lot of other stuff around there to get in the way, quite honestly.
Right. Okay. That was our update. Okay. since we're sort of talking about military flight operations on that last update, we have this from the Los Angeles Times, latimes.com, and this involved a Navy jet, an FA-18 or F-18. I'm not sure. What's the difference between FA and, I guess, fighter attack and fighter designations?
Yeah,
on
the
it
letters
depends on what the
usually
role
relate
is.
to the role.
Okay.
So, but not everyone obeys that. Standard does the same thing.
Well, I have a video involving this little accident in San Diego, and we're going to go. Well, no, the fast one is going to be the second video I play. So here, let's go with the first one.
A Navy jet crashes into the San Diego Bay this morning. It happened near Shelter Island, close to the Kona Kai Resort. The pilots on board made it out safely by ejecting themselves before the aircraft went down.
And good afternoon to you. I'm Christina Audencial.
And I'm Phil Blauer. Fox 5 has been following this story all afternoon, sending our crews out near the crash site.
Our Zara Barker joins us live from Shelter Island with more on what she's learning. Zara.
Phil, Christina, just remarkable video coming out of this crash. The military jet nosedived into the San Diego Bay around 10 o'clock this morning, and they were rescued by a group of about 4 fishermen. Video shows a fighter jet plunging into the San Diego Bay. Just moments before this, fishermen aboard the Premier Sport fishing boat noticed 2 pilots parachuting from the sky.
And I was thinking, that's a funny maneuver they're doing, because from time to time they do fly. And it sounded weird. And then once we saw 2 parachutes with dots underneath, we decided to turn the boat and head right to them, help them out.
Within minutes, the 4 crew members pulled the 2 pilots to safety.
Grab the ladder for the to get the person on top of the boat.
The pilots seemed to be okay, coherent when we brought them on board, and then they got taken off and first aid.
They seemed a little shook up, but they knew where they were. They knew what was going on. Just a little shaken, and they were trying to check on each other and make sure they were all good.
As they rescued the pilots, they noticed the jet was still in the air.
Hang on. let that sink in.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay, did you hear what she just said?
Yep.
Yep.
After they... Okay. Here, I'll continue.
And then I looked over and saw the jet flying without pilots, without the cockpit on it.
I'd love to
All
know the
passengers
length
were
of
on
time
board
it
during
was still flying
the
around.
rescue, and Captain Brandon Veets says the jet crashed into the water within about a quarter mile from where they rescued the pilots, narrowly missing homes and the coastline. H&M Landing's owner, where the fishing boat operates out of, says he's already received calls from the port's captain and Navy admiral thanking his crew.
These guys are true heroes. If it weren't for the fact that your swift reaction today, this could have had a far different outcome. So thank you all. You guys rescued a pair of naval aviators today. If it weren't for your swift response and your training, could have ended much differently.
These 4 fishermen go through monthly trainings and just had their yearly Coast Guard inspection Monday, where they ran through a scenario like this.
Coast Guard comes down, he runs over with man overboard. So we ran through that on Monday, and then we actually had a man overboard.
Cool. All right, here's the actual video of the F-18 diving into the water. Boom.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a slow down version there. Boom.
Love it.
Okay.
Cannonball.
So I was listening to this coverage. I'm thinking, I think what may have happened here is the editing process was I think they got things chronologically
It was out of sync.
mixed up, out of sync a little bit. And so the guy saying, the airplane flying around, I think that was before it actually crashed and they actually saw the ejection and the pilots and going in and then rescuing them. That's the way I'm thinking this all happened. Unless, I know that AJ, go ahead. What's the other option here?
There was a story from Australia, actually, and it was an F-18. And the co-pilot, backseater, pulled the ejection handles, and I don't remember, it was a mistake, but I don't remember what the reason was. They're on short final, maybe, I don't remember what it was, 50 or so feet off the ground. The airplane landed after they ejected, and rolled off into the grass.
Yeah, I remember. I think we actually covered that on the show.
Okay.
So
that's just what I'm thinking is that it could have happened. The airplane could have kept flying after they left. Not for long, obviously, but
I guess it's possible. It seems like the F-35s do that a lot, but I'm not sure about the F-18.
That was another one, yeah. Couldn't they not find that F-35 for days or weeks or something?
Yeah, because it just kept on flying once the guy ejected.
Oh, in history they've been
The airplane's going down. I gotta eject. Oh, just kidding. It's gonna keep going for a while.
There was a famous one over Germany with a Harrier that took a bird, and the engine surged, and the guy's very close to the ground, and the engine's producing no thrust whatsoever. So in a descent towards the ground, he goes, well, I've got to jump out. He jumps out. At that point, the surge cleared. And it might have been the jet efflux from his ejector seat, the rocket, that created enough disturbance in airflow to clear the surge, or whatever happened, it cleared. And now, without the weight of the pilot and the ejector seat in the front, and the guy had left it in full power, this aircraft then blasted off and started doing aerobatics over over Germany.
What are you watching? That's an air show.
Well, they scrambled armed Q jets of it after it to shoot it down because they didn't want it to stray over the East German border and go and give some intelligence
international
to
incident.
The Soviets. Well, they just didn't want them to get all their secrets. But this thing started doing big loops for 10 minutes, and eventually one of the loops. Well, he didn't pull out. And he hit the ground. So,
because he wasn't in it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the only one. There's a fantastic one of a Delta Dart or a Delta Dagger that landed itself after the pilot ejected, and it was almost completely undamaged. Someone found it in a field. Yeah. Anyway.
Sometimes these airplanes have a mind of their own.
Yes.
Tim Van Ram says, but did you catch any fish?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure they asked that very important question, Tim. So I'm thinking
inquiring minds want to know.
While I do agree that it is possible that they could have ejected and the thing just flew around for a while and then finally just went in. I think it's likely that it was the editing process of that video.
I think you're right. Yeah. I just wonder what happened to it that caused them to eject. It's interesting. I mean, a double engine failure, run out of fuel, major flight control problem. I mean, there are very few things that can happen that would make you, just jump out in the circuit effectively,
right,
in the instrument pattern or wherever they were.
The sudden urge to try to find out what happens when you pull those handles.
Yes.
The button that no pilot should ever push.
Yeah, that is a dangerous thing, by the way. Especially if you're just at cruise and you're just looking around at things. And I wonder if I did this, what would happen? I was always able to, disregard these feelings of curiosity.
Intrusive thoughts.
And I thought, you know what? I don't want to find out. Anyway, Bill, a premature ejection. There might be therapy for that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's our military news for the week. Let's see. I guess we could talk about this one. This happened in Scottsdale, Arizona, near Phoenix. A plane crashes into another plane, killing one. Actually, killing the pilot, the captain. Let's see if I can find that video. Where is that? Well, maybe I don't have any video for that. Yeah, just do the stills. Well, there is a video in the Evernote if you want. I mean, in the show notes if you all want to watch it. But apparently, I just decided that it wasn't worth watching. This airplane involved in this. Well, one of the airplanes involved in the crash, the active one, was owned by Vince Neil from the Motley Crue. He owns. We're kind of a version of the Motley Crue, for sure. After landing at Scottsdale, the FAA says the plane veered off the runway and crashed into a parked plane. Scottsdale Fire Captain Dave Folio says 78-year-old Joey Vitosky died. 3 others were hurt, and another victim didn't want treatment. And it looked like in the video, and you can watch it yourself, and some people, I think I heard this somewhere, that they think that the left main landing gear just collapsed after they had touched down and were in their landing rollout, and then it just caused them to veer off to the left and into the parking area for one of the FBOs, where this was a Learjet 35A, and it crashed into a Gulfstream 200 business jet. There was somebody in the Gulfstream, by the way. I think he was the one that said, "Yeah, I didn't need any, first aid or anything like that." But can you imagine you're at the jet waiting for your customer to show up, and all of a sudden you hear this? What's that noise? Bam! It moved the thing like seemed like about 10 feet. Hopefully he was seated somewhere.
I think it said towards the bottom of the write-up there was that he did go to the hospital after a time, and they did check him out, but he was released.
Okay, good. Somebody probably convinced him. Yeah, you need to go. Yeah. All right. Anything else to say about that? I know I skipped a lot of the details there, but that's essentially what occurred. So I'm sure they're going to...
I was just going to say, 78, that's quite an old pilot. Is he allowed? Is it what kind of a certificate?
This would be a
Part 91.
Part 91, and as long as you can get a
Is there an
medical...
age limit to Part 91 pilots then?
No.
Nope. And I believe 135. That's perfectly fine as well.
As long as you can
insurance will eventually become cost prohibitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you may, at some point, no longer, like Jeff was saying, obtain a medical certificate, depending on.
I mean, I'm not suggesting that it was his fault. I mean, it's very sad.
No,
that he's
I
died,
mean, yeah.
But I'm just, yeah.
But as an example, the gentleman I fly this airplane and the L-39 with is in his late 70s, and he's sharp as a razor.
At least you're in the cockpit with him. And was he the only pilot?
Unsure. It doesn't say.
I don't know. It didn't really say.
It says somewhere in here, it said one of the 2 pilots was hurt, but it is a reporter writing this. So your mileage may vary.
I think typically the Lears do operate with 2 pilots though, right? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially a Lear 35A. I don't think they're certificated for single pilot ops. That particular Learjet, I think, is a little bit too complicated for just one single operation, single pilot operation. Neil Landhorn in the live audience, 78. He's in the vinyl stages of his career. Vinyl. Oh,
like the record, 78.
Yeah.
Well, that I did have an ulterior motive for asking that question.
Oh, thinking about getting back to flying?
No, I'm thinking about the plane tail.
Yeah, it's the plane tail. Okay, just quickly before we move on, because has been so much news, and we have a lot more to cover. But I would like to just quickly mention this Asiana. You'll remember back in 2013? That the 777 Asiana 777 hit the seawall on approach to one of the runways at San Francisco International, and it was a spectacular crash. And thankfully, I don't know how many people died in that, but I think one or two got run over by the fire vehicles. Anyway. So fast forward to 2025, again at San Francisco International, and this time an Airbus A350 was coming in, and they were on final approach to 28 left. They were cleared to land. Tower issued a low altitude alert, advising the crew to immediately check their altitude. Altimeter 3026. Tower instructed a go around. Actually, if you listen to the audio, I think that they were already in the process of initiating a go around when the tower kind of inquired, are you going to correct? Because I guess the data he was looking at on his screen, it didn't look like things were changing in a positive way. But they said, yeah, we're going around. So they did initiate, and then of course tower usually says after the crew tells them that they're going around, then they'll kind of repeat that. Just I think to make the whole thing official. Let's see. The crew initiated the go around, position for another approach, and landed without further incident about 16 minutes after the initial go around. According to ADS-B data, the aircraft was descending through about 650 feet AGL, and then they go and talk about how that's figured out based on the transponder putting out 325 feet, but then that is measured according to standard pressure, which was 29.92 inches of mercury, or 1013 hectopascals. Did I get that right? Or kilopascals? I've never heard of it referred to that way. I think it's HP.
From my memory, but
I think it's hecto. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So anyway, it got, at the point at which it should have been about 1,000 feet, it was about 650 feet. So, 325, 350 feet below where they should be on the glide path. And that's why the low altitude alert sounded in the tower. And anyway, it was interesting that I think I read somewhere, and maybe it was in the commentary of this report from the Aviation Herald, that somebody said that the let's see if I'm trying to scroll around to find it, but something to the effect that Asiana, especially based on that incident back in 2013 or whatever it was in the 777, are required to only fly coupled approaches into San Francisco, and I think even autolands. So I'm not sure if that's what was happening here on the airplane or not. It's hard for me to imagine that an A350, unless they had the wrong approach dialed up or something. I don't know how the auto flight system on a pretty sophisticated airplane like the 350 could have been that far off on a glide slope. So
and
anyway,
not only that, even if they were on a coupled approach, the weather looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
Again, something maybe your eyeballs would alert you to.
Yeah, I think so too. You should be looking, and something doesn't look right here. It looks like, it doesn't look like the picture I'm supposed to be seeing here. In fact, somebody in the commentary said, again, they are 700 feet low, or I don't think it was quite that low, and can't see the runway, how the runway view looks like when crossing the seawall. What was the jump seater doing? Not paying attention to the radio altimeter display, glide slope deviation, DME readout, altitude readout. Again, silence, unwilling to step in and alerting the flight crew to altimeter settings still on standard versus ATIS settings, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so there's some interesting comments in the article.
But the 350 is so sophisticated that it will actually work out what your baro pressure should be. And if you've dialed the wrong number in, it will tell you.
Oh.
So the aircraft warns you if you have an incorrect barometric pressure setting. If you don't change the setting from standard to baro to Q&H, then it will warn you. These things, it's very hard to avoid the warning system that the aircraft has. It's incredibly sophisticated when it comes to that.
Yeah. Oh, here, I found that comment about the let's see, Northern California approach control has to stop issuing slam dunk visual approaches to Asiana who require a 20-mile straight-in Cavu Autolands. So maybe that's their own operating procedure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and end the news segment, which went a little bit long. Something just fell on top of my... No, it was, I think something dropped from a tree.
Oh, okay. I had a bird
perhaps?
walking along the roof of my car earlier, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me, because I was just, it actually arrived at work and was trying to collect some of my stuff, and I was like, what is that sound? And then it jumped down on the spare tire in the rear and started hitting its beak against the window in the back too. I have no idea. The bird wanted into my car. Maybe that's what you have going on.
Just wanted to be friends.
Yeah. Just wanted to say hello.
All right. Time for Getting to Know Us. Time of the show where we get all caught up pretty much with what has been going on with the hosts since the last time they were on the show. And let's see. Steph, what have you been up to lately in the last couple weeks? Excuse me.
When was the last time I was on the show? It wasn't. We didn't do a show last week.
No.
And I missed the previous one, I think, because I would talk to you guys after I went to my conference, correct, in Tahoe.
Yes.
I gave Liz some.
Yeah, we saw some
pictures.
photos from that.
So I think it was only last week, because then we didn't do a show last week. So I have not been absent without leave, I don't think. All that happened last week. It's a good thing that we did not record a show because I was sick. Yeah. I fortunately don't get sick very often. Kind of woke up on, I got back from, no, wait, when did we do a show last? No, I can't remember. Maybe I did talk to you guys about the conference, or I didn't. Either way, we'll just talk about last week.
Thought we did, yeah. You had some pictures, I think.
Yeah, pretty sure. Is Liz confirming that? I can't hear Liz because okay.
Oh.
So, yeah, last week felt great on Monday. Was planning on getting up to swim on Tuesday morning, which I normally do with one of my work partners, and I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, just kind of hot and not feeling great, and kind of said, I don't think I should go swim. I think I need maybe more sleep. Maybe that's what it is. Kind of struggled through the day on Tuesday. Nothing real specific, just fatigue and not feeling great. Developed a fever on Tuesday night and had a fever on Wednesday morning. So certainly called out of work. Did not need to go in and spread anything there. And then it kind of took me, even though I started to feel a lot better, just felt kind of fatigued and run down for a couple more days after that. So that's all I've done. It's not been a lot.
Just be sick.
Just sometimes you get sick and you got to take time to recover. So
yeah,
nothing interesting here.
All right.
Yeah.
Nick.
I'm not used to going on so soon. I mean, she used to be on at the end where I do the... Anyway, I popped up to a lovely hotel to attend the memorial to my first commanding officer from my first squadron, which was 43 Squadron, the Fighting Cocks. And it really was very touching. Ian McBride was a great boss, and it was my first fighter squadron, and I've always had a soft spot for that squadron ever since. And he was a great guy, well thought of, and it was a well attended squadron. They had a lovely service, very amusing actually, because some real characters stood up and told us stories about him. And at the end, they had a trumpeter from the Band of the Royal Air Force there who paid the last post, which I thought was fantastic. And of course, I remember being asked to fill out my boss's, logbook as well as my own, because bosses are way too busy to fill out their own logbooks. And I remember noting that there was a section of his logbook where there were no aircraft type written in there. And of course, they had a picture of him there in his spacesuit. Because he had been a U-2 pilot on exchange with the United States Air Force. And in fact, I think it was must have been one of the last U-2 pilots before, they got rid of them or whatever. But I wasn't sure about that. But I mean, they had this big picture there. I'm going, boy, I never knew that's what he had flown. So I had an inkling, but it was remarkable to know that he'd done the exchange on the U-2, which was pretty remarkable back there in the sort of, I guess, late 60s, early 70s. And of course, he was a Lightning pilot before that. And he then flew Phantoms, and that's how I got to work for him as boss of 43. So that was really rather nice. It was, apart from the fact it was a fantastic hotel, it used to be an abbey for nuns who had, were excluding themselves from society. So kind of one of these really orders where they don't have a lot of contact. So a very beautiful, self-contained abbey, but it wasn't very old. One of the Benedictine orders, I think. But the actual building is fantastic. They've converted it into the most wonderful hotel. So the great room where they conducted the service, and then subsequently we went off and I met up with a whole bunch of my old 43 Squadron mates, and we sat and drank beer in the bar for a nice while before staggering off to bed. So all that was great, very good. Cloistered, yes, I'm sure. I felt pretty cloistered after all those beers, but
I don't think that's.
Yeah,
that's a different meaning, I think.
Oh, okay. So that was really my my main event while gone. Apart from writing this week's Plain Tale. Jilly's got herself a birthday present, a new Volvo. She just loves Volvos. I don't know quite why, but she feels, I think, that they're big and safe. So we've got a new XC.
Uh-oh.
You broke him
into the house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you just stuttered a little bit. Yeah, you froze.
Oh, did I?
You froze up on us.
Oh, yeah. Blame the new internet. Yeah, an XC90. So it's one of these hybrids. So I'm trying to work out how to plug it into the house without it costing me a bomb. But yeah, it could be. It could be the house
got
electrics
a lot of juice.
Going, overheating, help. Yeah. So anyway, that's all been very exciting. Buying her a new car, and Swan Snarge soup. That was the
sounds good.
Last. Yes, it's a disgusting looking picture, isn't it? Horrible. We had lots of good suggestions from APG 651. They had Swan Upping and Downing, Swan Smash, Packs on, Packs off. We have ways of making you talk. You're so ugly, we gave you to the Navy. Hanging or beheading, all very good ideas. But Swan Snarge soup, I'm a sucker for a alliteration, and also I like my sibilants. So Swan Snarge soup satisfies all that. And in case we're struggling to find the logo, there it is on that cream jar in the back of the galley.
That's a good-looking logo there.
It is, actually, yes. Very good. And actually, I like the text too. And the swan, of course, swimming in its own snarge. It's looking at it's been ringed, and it's looking at the number on its ring, which is 651. There you go. Yeah.
So it's not part of the king's geese.
No,
right?
this will be someone else's swan. You're quite right.
I mean swan.
The king they don't ring the king's swans.
That's what I remember you telling us that. Yeah,
exactly. Apparently.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
very
was
disgustingly well
disgusting,
done.
wasn't it? Yeah, I felt a bit queasy at times doing that.
That pretty much describes the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it just happened to happen that
You
way.
don't eat the head and the legs. At least I don't.
Bit too crunchy.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Nick. Alpha Juliet, what have you been up to since the last time you were on with us?
Got to do a little bit of flying, actually. Had some fun
cool.
with that, and got to take my middle daughter with me. So she got to ride in the jet prop, which is pretty cool. That's probably the biggest, fastest airplane she's ever been in. But if you look close, she's in there.
Oh yeah.
So she enjoyed that, and
It looks like a bumblebee.
So I bet you
got
can't.
very little wings.
I bet you can't guess where he went to school. We have a school here that's quite famous and has a yellow jacket for a
yellow jacket is the
Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech. So the other interesting thing happened. Got to fly this up to Chattanooga, which I felt pretty good learning this airplane. I've got getting closer to 10 hours in it now, and it's a fast airplane and everything happens quickly and all that. But I haven't been, I don't think, properly humbled by this airplane until Tuesday when I went to Chattanooga, which is a 24-minute flight in that airplane. And from startup to shutdown, there are 11 checklists. And just trying to get all those things done between McCollum and Chattanooga was a challenge. And just getting to know that airplane and its incredible performance. Almost busted the Bravo. Did not, but almost. Because most of the airplanes I fly out of the airport I fly in is right underneath the shelf of Atlantis Class Bravo. It's a 7,000-foot shelf. None of the regular airplanes I fly are in any danger of immediately reaching that shelf. This one is. It will get there.
Pretty high performance.
Yeah, so it's a if you try hard enough, it'll do a 3,000-foot climb rate. It's pretty sporty for what it is, especially. Now the other thing is that these airplanes, the jet prop is a conversion of a internal combustion engine or a piston engine Malibu. So it's an aftermarket add-on by Rocket Engineering. It's not a Piper built product. They came out with the Meridian after this airplane was built.
Okay.
So these are very rare. There's only a couple hundred of them on the planet. And so ironically, there's 2 of them based at my airport, which I thought that's the most I'll ever see of these in any one place. And I've been watching another podcast, some videos on YouTube. This guy, the Malibu Guru, he talks about all the procedures and things like that. And I know, I've been cheating a little bit, but you guys were on last week, so it's not my fault. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So
the slide.
He's from out west. He's out somewhere like West Texas or something like that. So never thought of any possibility of crossing paths. And we get to Chattanooga, and here pulls up another jet prop. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. 2 jet props going to the same airport at the same time. That's pretty small world kind of thing. And then out gets this guy. And I'm like, hey, I know you. He doesn't know who I am, so I just pointed at him across the room. I know you. And he's like, yeah, I'm
Well, now,
that
wait
guy.
a minute. Why is it that he doesn't know you? You're on the APG.
I don't, we had a conversation about it. He was suitably reprimanded and sent on his way.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really neat. Just small world thing. Got to talk to him for a few minutes, and he's a super nice guy. But had a lot of fun getting to do that. And let's see, anything else? I had hopefully a good job interview today, so we'll see where that takes me. But
I was going to ask you if you've had any bites or nibbles.
I'd call it a solid nibble.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. Okay. It's going to be a mixture of things. It's not just flying, but it sounds like there's going to be a good bit of flying as part of it. It's for one of our local maintenance shops that does a lot of pickups and deliveries and things like that. And I'd be working on some avionics things and some other things, as well as doing some of their flying for them. They have a couple of company planes. So hopefully, and it's also like 12 minutes from my house, which is fantastic because my previous hour and a half commute was less than pleasant. Yeah. So hopefully going well, but that's the big stuff.
Fingers crossed that.
Good job.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, other than I should say that, edited the last one. You might recall that I forgot, actually, I don't know if you'd know if you were just listening to a regular audio-only podcast. You wouldn't know all the things happening behind the scenes. And if you watch the video, you might have an idea perhaps, but a lot of this happens even after we've finished the stream, and realized, though, I think while we were still streaming on the last episode a couple of weeks ago, that I had forgotten to push the record button. I know, checklist discipline. I should get a checklist. So my primary and backup recorders were not activated. And then I'm thinking, StreamYard, I checked the option to have some backup files recorded as well. And that didn't work out super great either. I was not happy with that quality. And finally I went, screw it. I'll just use the stereo output from StreamYard, the video. And that needed some cleaning up. I don't know if you'll remember this. And I think if you listen to the podcast, you probably hardly hear what we were talking about as far as the rain hitting the skylight, which is directly above my head here. The raw noise reduction treated files. It was quite obvious. The very loud noises from the rain coming down on top of the roof here and the skylight. And so the process, the company that I use sometimes for cleaning that stuff up, did a really good job of that file. It took out things I didn't want it to take out and stuff, but this is all stuff you don't really care about. So it made the rain go away for sure. And it made some other things go away that I didn't want to go away. So I had to add all that stuff back in. And so, it was a struggle. It really made me realize that I definitely want to make sure that I have the recording going so I can do my normal routine. And yes, it so traumatized me that I said, you know what, let's take the week off. Let's take a break from this. And so that's what we decided to do. And I think we all enjoyed, taking the week off as far as the prep work and the after show recording work. Not having to worry about that. The thing that we did miss was just getting together with friends, and all of you out there, especially those of you in our live audience, our live chat room. And so we kind of missed that. But of course, there were a lot of things going on in aviation news as well. We're going, there's another one. Like every day there was something big happening. So we still have some of that to talk about yet in future episodes. And then I did my normal singing at the church, and no funerals last week that I can recall. But it was really, really cold here in the South, in the Atlanta area. For 3 or 4 nights, it dropped below freezing temperatures, and in fact, one night it got down to the teens Fahrenheit, and so I had to winterize the road vessel studio. And I spent basically about a week at a Fairfield Inn, a hotel. So that was different. So now the last few days have been kind of definitely warm. And I think we just had a cold front come through today. Not a lot of moisture with it, but the temperatures are supposed to regulate downward a little bit again for a little bit. And then, but not like I don't have to winterize again, as I'm pretty sure. It was a bad week, so you had to watch PTUK. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Neil. Yeah, we do love them. So that is that. And we're back on our normal recording and publishing schedule. And we missed you, and we hope you missed us. So, yeah, I guess it's now time for us to talk about coffee, because I love coffee. I really do.
My Keurig is broken, I think.
That's not real coffee.
I love coffee. I love tea.
I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund. It's your way to support our show financially if you have the financial resources to do so. And we don't say this every time, but just a reminder, if you're somebody that needs your money for like food and clothing and shelter or flying lessons, something like that, don't worry about it. It's a free show, and we enjoy presenting it to you and entertaining you and maybe even informing you at times. Anyway, but if you do feel like you want to provide some value for the value you receive, you can join the Coffee Bar Club, and we have a couple different ways to do that. One's called the Coffee Fund Classic Method. Since the last episode, Ed Kelly sent in a contribution. Thank you, Ed. And the other way is to become a patron of the show via Patreon. And we have a new producer, Stu Stevenson. So thank you, Stu, for joining up as a producer. And if you're interested in joining this wonderful group of people, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. And the other thing I missed is the fact that, and maybe people listening to the last audio-only podcast may have missed it as well, because Liz is not recorded when we do the video show. Well, I mean, she is when I'm recording it the way I'm supposed to. It's like a separate track that I record of her, and then I usually intersperse little pithy things that she contributes on the audio-only podcast. And I didn't have any of it. So, I mean, didn't hear Liz except for the very beginning and the very end of the show. So that was a little bit different as well. Yeah, I think that maybe that's why our numbers were so high on the last episode. No, I don't know. I didn't even look at the numbers, so I'm making that up. Anywho, yeah. Let's see. Liz says she doesn't drink coffee, but she has a Keurig and loves making chai lattes. Okay. And then I think Steph said that she has a Keurig that is broken.
Yeah, I discovered that this morning when I went to, so I swim on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I was on my way out the door. I was like, ooh, I should take a cup of coffee. I'll put it in the car and it'll be nice and like perfect temperature. By the time I am finished swimming, I'll drink it on the way to work. Turn it on, kind of does the thing where it sounds like it's heating up the water, and then it just turns off. And it did that like 4 times in a row. And I went, oh no.
Oh no.
The trusty Keurig. So I haven't tested it yet since I've been home. I just came straight here, but yeah. I'm getting
Speaking of chai lattes,
suggestions from the chat room for replacements, so we'll take a look.
Oh, I have a great suggestion, one that I might end up getting, but it's a little bit more expensive than a Keurig.
Oh.
Okay. I don't even want to say because people are going to say, what?
We'll
so
discuss
that's what you're doing with all the Coffee Fund money.
we'll discuss after the show.
Okay. All right, let's do the plane tale. That's a great idea. So after the plane tale, we'll cover some feedback, depending on how long we're running here. So without further ado, we're going to listen to this week's installment of the Old Pilot's Plane Tales.
The Old Pilot's Plane Tales, the final checkout. Growing up in a pilot's family, mealtimes often turned to subjects of aviation and the lifestyle rigors of our long-haul airline father and breadwinner. There was no chance that the discussions would be candy-coated by stories of rest days spent lazing on the Copacabana or playing golf at the country clubs of Nairobi, or my mother would start looking grim since she was the one left at home with 3 sons. We more often strayed to the subject of awful weather, dangerous emergencies, and the latest accidents, and why pilots died earlier than the average person. The oft-quoted statistics that a retiring pilot would only have 5 years to enjoy their pensions was quoted, and to be fair, back in the 70s that might have been true. In earlier decades, the early demise of pilots was mainly based on empirical evidence and on the well-publicized news of an ex-colleague's early death. However, in 1992, the time when I was putting in my papers to leave the RAF to pursue a life as an airline pilot, the Flight Safety Foundation published a study which seemed to confirm that pilots died at a younger age than the general population. The sources for the data came from 7 airline pilot associations: the Stiff Upper Lip British, Tango Dancing Argentinians, Coffee Drinking Colombians, As Accurate as Our Watches Swiss, The Cradle of Civilization Greeks, I Love My Guinness Island, and Time for a Siesta Spanish. An interesting mix, but one where the average retirement age was 56. A second major source was the U.S. Airline Pilots Cowboy Association, which provided data about American pilots retiring after 60. The statistics for those that retired at a mere 55 ran from the age of 50, 5 years before retirement, until 74, and they showed some interesting peaks. The percentage number of deaths between the ages of 50 and 54 amounted to 12%, which was 4% better than the general population. However, the 5 years after retirement displayed a complete reversal, with pilot deaths rising to reach 19% higher than everyone else, at 37 versus 18%. This certainly supported my father's assumption that he better enjoy life when he could, as things were only going to go from bad to worse when he hung up his flying boots. After age 59, things calmed down a bit, with pilots dropping off their perches only 2% more than earthbound mortals up until everyone reached 70. From then until the end of the stats at 74, those who had clung on to life that little bit longer continued to do so, achieving a 13% advantage over Joe Public. Across the pond, things were a bit different and possibly more accurate, since ALPA had a much larger pool of numbers to look at. Unfortunately, figures weren't available for ages under 60, but the 3 groups between 60 and 68 showed a consistent 21 to 24% of aviators flying west, 6 to 8% higher than the landlubbers. After age 68, the trend reversed, with ex-pilots having a renaissance of interest in life, with 2% living longer, then 5%, 8%, and in the last couple of years of their 70s, our venerable stick-and-rudder chaps were doing 9% better than the rest. What else could we get from these graphs? It certainly seems that the airline industry graveyards were busiest for the first 8 or 9 years after that final flight, with 59% of us giving up in Europe and South America, and 67% losing the will to live in the United States. If you could get over that hump and make it to your 70s, then the stats dropped to 10% and 17% respectively. That appeared mainly down to the fact that most of your compatriots had already carked it, so percentage-wise you were looking pretty good. So back at the end of the last century, what might have been the cause of your premature demise? Insurance companies, particularly those dealing with pilots' loss of license claims, reveal that by far the most important things to do were to avoid cardiovascular issues, followed by neurological, cancer, psychiatric, and fairly high amongst the also-rans, alcoholism. So if you're drinking to steady your nerves or because of your worries, then I can assure you, you are on a hiding to nothing. All this doom and gloom seemed to be supported by more recent information quoted by a large fiduciary investment company based in Dubai. They quote a Boeing Aerospace actuarial study of lifespan based on age at retirement. The numbers quoted are quite stunning, as they tell us that a pilot who retires at age 50 can expect, on average, to live to 86, whereas a hard-working pilot retiring at the age of 65, like your author, will be dead within 18 months. It appears that the secret of my current longevity, post shutting down those mighty Rolls-Royce Trents for the last time, goes against the average for 4 additional years and counting. I might point out that the most recent study is only attributed to Boeing, but it has been quoted by newspapers, magazines, and pundits, and has circulated on the internet for years. The problem with it is, at least according to the British Broadcasting Corporation, that Boeing itself says it's simply not true. Putting Boeing to one side, then, is there any other evidence which might support the idea that retiring early prolongs life? Surprisingly, perhaps, the truth may be precisely the opposite. The later you retire, the longer you live. Shell carried out a study of past employees, not pilots, in the United States, which found out that mortality was slightly earlier, on average, for staff who retired at 55 than for those who continued working to 65. Are pilots, then, a special case? It appears not. A further study, also published by the Flight Safety Foundation of Human Factors and Aviation Medicine, provides contrary information. The study informs us that conventional wisdom does indeed point to cases where retired airline pilots in excellent health and physical condition died in the first few years, even a few months after retirement. Some, they tell us, believe that factors associated with a pilot's career may have a precipitating effect on mortality. Then they quote work conducted by eminent persons from the Professional Performance Improvement Incorporated, the Wright State University School of Aerospace Medicine, and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration Civil Aeromedical Institute, which shows a significantly longer life expectancy from the group of American Airlines pilots examined when compared with an equivalent sample from the U.S. general population. The pilot's median residual lifetime, the time by which half of the pilots should have fallen off their perches, was 5 years longer than Mr. and Mrs. Average. The experts tell us that professional airline pilots should be in far better health than the general population because of a number of factors: ongoing medical scrutiny, early detection and treatment of disorders, and the removal from flight status of those with serious pathology. They assign the myth that as a work group we are prone to a tragically short retirement down to flight line talk, and that each time an airline pilot dies shortly after retiring, the hypothesis of early death is reborn and reinforced in this weak-minded group of grounded gossipers. I said the last bit. The basis for this low life expectancy is put down to many factors encountered in a pilot's lifestyle: fatigue, cosmic radiation, and electromagnetic field effects, circadian dysrhythmia, sound and vibration exposure, lowered humidity, ambient pressure, and a mild hypoxia. Questionable nutrition, air contaminants, concern for passengers' safety, loss of career threat, confrontational labor relations, anxiety about disqualification through professional errors, and concerns about losing medical certification. As if to emphasize their academic status, the group go on to add that if an early mortality trend is real, research into some or all of the factors listed could reveal their precipitating potential. Epidemiological investigation, the study of the distribution of disorders in a population, could also provide critical information concerning such trends compared with a matching sample of the general population. Results of such analyses would be of interest to the FAA and other civil aviation authorities as indicators to health factors to be monitored in the pilot population. In my words, that means that if pilots are dying early, find out why and check for that problem in those still flying. I also think for most overworked and underfunded civil aviation authorities, that's going to be put firmly on the back burner. Our mighty bank of experts found little trustworthy research had been done in the past, and that the 1992 study, which expressed mortality data as a percentage, was an interesting method and apparently, dare I say it, inappropriate. They went on to quote data from Japanese pilots, which suggested that their retired pilots had a lower mortality rate and higher life expectancy due to the improved health standards of airline pilots. From the opinions of the actuaries of the British Airways pension schemes, the people who collect data and calculate insurance risks, kind of like Nostradamus, the life expectancy of their retired pilots was thought to be 5 years better than other referenced pensioners. If you were a Canadian pilot, specifically from British Columbia, and flying for Canadian Pacific Airlines, things didn't look so good and you might want to go fly for the US Navy because our West Canuck aviators had elevated proportional cancer mortality rates, whereas the Navy boys were in much better health than the normal population. I'm thinking it has to have something to do with gold wings. Employing the same data as before, our cognoscenti, having pooh-poohed the percentage method, employed the life table method for describing survival over time, the same analytical technique that is used by actuaries. Life table analysis estimates the probability of surviving a given number of years after retirement and benefits from including survival information on individuals who enter or leave the study at different points. Among pilots who survive a given number of years past retirement, half the survivors will die before the median life expectancy and half will live beyond this median residual lifetime age. And if you somehow imagine that I wrote that myself and didn't copy it directly, you'd be sadly mistaken. From this more appropriate method of viewing the data, a different view of our wing-wearing brethren's demise was established. Firstly, the pilots were split into two groups, one from the first part of the study and one from the second part to see if there was any difference. It was established that the survival rate difference of the two groups wasn't statistically different. As a result, the groups were combined and analysed as a single group of 1,494 retired pilots. Because the sample was anonymous, it wasn't possible to include the variations that might come from gender, race, socio-economic status, health consciousness, health history, etc. However, some assumptions could be made from this period of the 1980s, and the comparison group of the general population used was that of US white males. Go figure. The results, drum roll please. The median survival ages for the comparison group of the general population was 78.2 years, and for retired pilots, 83.8 years. Therefore, using the calculations, the retired pilots have more than a 5-year advantage of median life expectancy when compared with the 60-year-old US white male population of the era. The results also showed that by age 85, more than 49% of those mangy old men in their flying machines would still be chugging along. But apart from ending many a beer-fueled post-flight discussion between first officers and their captains on whether they should get out now and enjoy their long retirement, thereby vacating their left seat for aforesaid first officers to occupy, when it comes to age and retirement, a much more immediate issue exists. At what age should retirement be mandatory? EASA completed a research project back in 2017 on just that subject. For multi-crew commercial aircraft, the risk of a catastrophic system failure is mitigated by the presence of the second pilot. But despite this, there was no recommendation to extend or abolish the 65-year age limit. This was because beyond the age of 65, the variability of physical and mental cognitive health determinants increases. The number of pilots at risk for physical, cardiovascular, and mental ailments will therefore increase, and medical examinations will only detect a proportion of serious conditions. As a consequence, the likelihood of missing a high-risk case was considered to increase above 65 years of age. In other words, the body isn't a piece of metal which can be bent a set number of times before it fails, and there isn't a way to predict exactly when a heart will stop, an artery will block, or when the brain's ability will fall below that required to operate an airliner. As they put it, except for cases with clear pathology, there are currently no relevant and sensitive tests to identify subtle impairments in cognitive functioning that are associated with flight safety. They go on to say, the age of 65 is a socially accepted retirement age, which provides a pilot an acceptable reason to stop when he or she is still proficient. It would be a personal tragedy for a pilot to be forced to stop because of impaired cognitive performance or failure. In other words, how do you want to end your career? While you're still on a high of competency, ability, and pride? Or with a storm of anger and recrimination when your examiner finally fails you? Please feel free to discuss.
Wow, talking about informative. That's great.
Well,
So I can
tail of that.
I can highly endorse retirement at the age of 65. This person,
without having
because
failed your sim checks or whatever.
Without
Medical
ever having
or other, yeah.
I've never failed a check ride ever, and I don't want that to be on my record.
Well, that's right. I mean, the human body is a weird thing, and the sort of tests we can currently do that you could do to all the entire population of pilots aren't really definitive. They can give you a clue, so I'm told, about what might occur, but they're usually historic. In other words, they're very good at saying, oh, wow, you've had a heart attack since your last medical, so you're grounded. They're not really going to say that you are about to have a heart attack. Very rarely predict that. And people who appear quite fit can suffer problems, incapacitation problems, and much harder to work out is your mental acuity. Is it still working fine in the short period that your examiner takes to look at you? Can he really pick up the subtle clues that
and there's standard tests for certain types of cognitive decline, but I think even if you're meeting the standards of all of those tests, there's other higher order cognitive things that are harder to pick up on the testing that you were alluding to that might be important for certain professions like pilots.
Exactly right. So, I'm a great believer in 65 is great, but there you go. That's because I retired at 64 and a half.
Cheater.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Huh?
Huh?
Who
are you?
What? Who are you people?
I'm looking at Jeff's. If you're not watching the video, Jeff has a clock right over his, I believe, your right shoulder, unless the video is turned around. Your left shoulder.
That's his life clock.
One of the cognitive tests is to draw a clock and then put a specific time on it. So if you have not seen one of those memory tests before, cognitive tests, that's a big one. That's
what will the kids do these days? They're not even learning.
That is. They have no chance of doing that in the future. So, yes.
Yeah. Weird. Okay. Very good. Wow. I really enjoyed that one. Thank you, Captain Nick.
Cool.
And I'm so glad that you're still with us.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we're 5 years after retirement. So 70 is going to be good for you. But I think probably we can do 10 years after retirement.
Captain Nick and I were talking a little bit about this last week, actually. When he was talking about the subject of this plane tale. And I remember when I was a new airline pilot, I just turned 30, and I was reading some sort of study or stats regarding pilot mortality, especially after they retire. And this is back when 60 was the retirement age. And I think the average, and you may have mentioned this stat somewhere in this plane tale, that like the average age was 5 years after you retired that most pilots passed away. And
that was a very common assumption.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it was like, oh, okay, that's not good. So, but I kind of thought to myself that maybe that did apply, or that was more common in the older generations of pilots when, the profession, the job of flying airplanes was pretty much what defined people. And if you didn't do anything or have anything else going on in your life, that you might get the feeling like, oh, well, I've done my job, I've done it well, and now I'm not needed for anything else. So why stick around anymore? And so I started a podcast. Thank you. No, so I think that the subsequent generations, like mine and maybe the half generation before mine, and definitely the ones after my generation, have gotten to the point where we do so many things in our lives, and we're so much more involved with our families and our other interests and that kind of thing. And like, let's say, podcasting. I literally, people think I'm joking when I say this, but my involvement in singing at the church and doing the podcast was flying trips every week was like, this is getting in the way of living my life. And so it was definitely a different priority as far as what was most important to me. And so I think that might have something to do with maybe Well, along with, of course, advances in the understanding of nutrition and understanding of medicine and physical fitness and all of that, how do you definitely say, well, this is what makes the most impact and the most importance, and this is not as important, whatever. But I think that, and Captain Nick and I agreed that, using your mind and being involved in something, and your attitude about things that happen to you in life and the way you handle stress, all of that is in that big snarge pot of swan, where it's in that soup that determines, I think, your ultimate longevity. But then again, yeah, apparently Liz is telling me that that I'm going to be dying soon because I'm not really using my mind much anymore.
But I'm curious, from your point of view, Steph, is there actually a definition for someone who has given up on life, has lost the will to live? And is there any direct correlation between that supposed attitude and their subsequent death?
There is a phenomenon which is physical, but I'm sure you could argue mental, psychological as well, called failure to thrive. It's a diagnosis that can be used. Typically, it's when people have other serious underlying medical comorbidities where even despite proper nutrition and exercise, there's something going on, a cancer process or a chronic illness where they just can't sustain their body enough to continue on. But a lot of times you see that accompanied by dissociation from, enjoyment of things in life too.
Okay.
But I don't know the stats or if there's published data or studies on that. There probably are, but I'm not aware of it.
FTT, huh? Failure to thrive.
Yep.
Wow. Liz is telling us 16 years she's almost been retired. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you were retired when you were like 35? That's amazing.
Yeah. That's great.
All right. So, okay. I think we'll, okay, we can start with this one from Peter. Oh yeah, I should do that. I'm losing my mind.
Too late, you've lost it.
I know. Yeah, it's probably not a coincidence that my former lawfully wed wife used to always say to me, your mind is a terrible thing to lose. and my response usually was, huh? What? All right.
Captain, incoming message.
What you mean? This is from Peter Tarantelli in our APG community, who is not here with us today in the chat room. Normally he is.
Oh, that's classic, isn't it?
I think he probably found out that Alpha Juliet was going to be on the show today, and he thought, I'm not going to watch that garbage. All right, let's see. The subject to, and he knows that came from a place of love.
No, it's probably true as well.
and I'm not the one that said it. Peter did. Okay. So he says, hey, Captain Jeff, nice to see you in the OB chat room today, posing bases. That was a couple of weeks ago, I think. I came across this feel-good story involving an Acme captain that I thought I'd pass along. Maybe you know him. Enjoy the video. Okay, so he sent a link to the video. We're not going to play the video. It's a nice video entitled An Act of Kindness Allows a Woman to See Her Mom for the Last Time, and an unexpected act of kindness goes viral. But we'll have the video link in the show notes if you want to watch it. And and then Peter asked if I happen to know him, and I said that his name sounds familiar, but I didn't recognize him in the video. And I said not to take anything away from him. Now, of course, he and his first officer, cabin attendants, and all those other departments that are behind the scenes that nobody really gets to see what's going on. And honestly, a huge amount of what happens in the airline operations happens in all those departments that aren't on the front line. But occasionally you'll have the opportunity to step in and make sure that somebody gets on a flight, or the flight is held long enough for you to make the flight, or subsequent connections are held, because there might be something important for this particular passenger to be on that airplane, that flight, to get to somewhere. So this is one of those types of stories where that happen. And in my career, I've been involved in these types of stories, and I've heard about many others, and I'm sure that Captain Nick has as well. But I said not to Peter, not to take anything away from him, his FO, and the flight attendant crew, but I'm sure a lot of the work behind the scenes involved dispatch and other departments too. I think it's really cool that the lady, they took the effort to reach out. This is the important thing. The lady that was involved in this, she reached out to Delta and the media, and that's why the story was made, and people are aware of it, because something was done that was done well, and instead of something going bad and complaining about it, something went well, and they went ahead and wanted to make sure that it was highlighted and people knew about it. And that, I think, is a big part. A big part of this story, in my mind, is the fact that, that she realized that it was important for them to be recognized for them doing good work. And so thanks for sending that, Peter. And dear listener, please watch the video, and well done by everybody involved at Delta in this particular situation. All right. Let's continue on then with this from, Captain Stefan. Okay, but it might be worth covering anyway, so thank you, Liz. He says, I have a question, and I'm hoping you might be able to shed some light on the DCA crash. According to an article I read, the helicopter had its ADS-B switched off, but I thought that the helicopter didn't even have ADS-B installed. Can you or your audience clarify this? I got the feeling that many news sites simply cite this Wall Street Journal article, even the German ones, word by word, but it doesn't make sense if the helicopters really don't have ADS-B. Greetings from Germany, and a big hi to everyone in your show, Stefan. So there's the article link that he is referring to, which he's referring regarding the ADS-B. I don't know for sure if they had that actual.
So going back to
technology.
the Av Herald update that we had, and this is Simon's information, and I don't know if we have where he cited this from specifically.
Oh, okay.
But he does say the very
That's right. He
last
did.
paragraph says the helicopter was capable of transmitting ADS-B out, however, did not transmit that data. It is currently not known whether the ADS-B was turned off.
Interesting.
So that's all the objective information we have on that.
Apparently, it was installed. Let's see, the acronym ADS-B is Automatic Dependent Surveillance Broadcast, I believe, is what that stands for.
Acronyms are
so it's kind of like a way to transmit information to other people in the air and on the ground. And then, I think, I could be wrong about this, but in the airline world, we have traffic collision avoidance system, which is a precursor to the ADS-B technology. And I think that ADS-B is actually a little bit more sophisticated. It gives you more information. I know that one of the limitations to TCAS, until they come up with TCAS version 3, which I think the most modern TCAS now is TCAS 2, where it's all vertical information. So the transponders talking to each other kind of give you a general idea of from what direction bearing the traffic is, but it's not super accurate. But what it is accurate with is the vertical, the altitude information, and it bases all of your maneuvering. If it suggests that you do a resolution advisory, or that gives you a resolution advisory to take action, like climb, descend, maintain altitude, etc. It's all based on going straight ahead because it doesn't really have enough information to give you a turn. Whereas I think the ADS-B and systems that use ADS-B for collision avoidance, I could be wrong about this, but I think it's more accurate when it comes to bearing information as well as altitude information. So I'm going to refer to Dr. Steph and AJ to set me straight on that.
I'll let AJ go first. He'll probably say it more eloquently. I just had go for it.
It is more accurate. It uses GPS. It basically is broadcasting its GPS position, which is pretty accurate these days.
Kind of the main difference is the ADS-B is just automatic. It's just giving that information out all the time. TCAS is communication between aircraft equipped with transponders. So that's how you're getting that collision avoidance information. ADS-B is just going to give you that traffic awareness. Now, ours will pop up and say traffic, and when it's within a certain radius or altitude.
And that's also dependent on which system you're using to get that ADS-B in. You can set those limits or inhibit those or turn them off. That's all completely set, user setting.
Exactly.
Okay. What happens when all the GPS satellites fall out of the sky?
The ADS-B falls out of the sky too.
Oh, all right.
Is there a way for military pilots to still receive collision avoidance on ADS-B and not transmit their position to the general public?
Depends on the system they have in the airplane. The particular electronic flight bag that I use, which is also my flight planning software and my ADS-B software, that shows me my display on my tablet. I have to use because I'm a Garmin guy. Garmin only likes to talk to Garmin. So mine won't talk to certain transponders that have the capability that you could get with ForeFlight, which is another very popular electronic flight bag software. So I have to use, on some of my airplanes I fly, I have to use a specific box that is just an ADS-B receiver. The ADS-B out, the transmitting of the position of the aircraft is built into the airplane, does not actually have any specific relation to the ability to receive that signal. So some transponders that are built into the aircraft, again, separate from the transmitter, the receiver can actually give you that information, or you can not have that system installed. The requirement is not that you have to receive ADS-B. The requirement in the U.S. is that you have to transmit your location on ADS-B in certain places within certain distances of airspace and other designated areas. Does that answer your question, Nick?
Well, kind of. It's just that if the requirement is to transmit your position and you're flying a sensitive military flight with a VIP in the back, you don't want anyone else to find out.
There are lots. There are lots of waivers.
Okay.
So I would think
does
that they would
mean
probably
you forfeit any chance of taking the advantage of collision avoidance from.
No, you can receive without transmitting. So I can drive around in my car with my ADS-B receiver and see all the airplanes, but they won't see me in my car driving.
Okay.
It'll show up on my ForeFlight, basically, or when you go to Flight Radar 24, that's all ADS-B information for the most part. So anyone can look at that.
Cool. Oh, and I was set straight by iHaul Boxes. I was right about TCAS 2, version 2. I said version. I guess TCAS 2, version 7.1 is the latest version of TCAS 2. So, for whatever that's worth. Thank you, iHaul Boxes. Okay. Let's see, anything else that so we'll link the article that Stefan referred to in the show notes. And we'll continue to move on with this next one from Darren, follow-up to the APG 647 Brussels diversion. Let me come out from behind the weeds and finally chime in with a bit of feedback. I've only been a listener since APG 150. Whoa, that was actually before Dr. Steph's first time on the show, I believe. I think it was like 152 or
152.
something. 150.
You think
something.
I could remember this number? I can't.
Yeah, you'd think so. If it were important to you,
if it was important to me, I'd really remember it.
Anyway, regarding Roberta's question on the mysterious Brussels diversion from the reason he said was storm 152. Okay, thanks. Dara or Dara? How would you pronounce that? Darragh? Dara? Okay. This powerful system hit Ireland and the UK on the 6th and 7th of December, causing widespread travel disruption. Woo, look at all those colors. That's pretty, that looks like a tie-dye shirt. That's very nice.
Yeah, I lived through that. Only just.
What, the tie-dye?
Yeah, the tie-dye explosion. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, those. What drug gave you those hallucinations? Never mind. LSD. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, right. Liz was very quick to let me know.
Awfully well informed.
What? Yeah, she was. I got some experience there. Okay. I believe that the flight in question was actually on the 7th of December, not the 6th. If you look at the attached historic METARs, you'll see at the time of arrival, first approach 0340 Zulu, the winds were showing 290, 39 gust 57. Yeah, that's kind of high. I believe the crew reported that they received a hard wind shear warning on both approaches. I don't know what a hard wind shear warning would be.
Oh,
but,
that's a
decreasing performance.
go-around, I'm guessing.
Yeah, decreasing performance, wind shear warning. You can also see wind shear runway 28 left showing in later METARs. This weather was also forecast to hit the UK later that morning, so I'm guessing that they elected to pick Brussels to have a good alternate out of the affected area, and also loaded a lot of holding fuel in the hope of being successful with one approach. When storms like Dara, I'm sorry, I've already forgotten.
Yeah, you're doing it right. I think it sounds
hit
vaguely Irish.
I guess the GH, yeah, it's just an Irish-looking name, and I'm afraid of all things Irish. No, I'm just kidding.
Drink some Guinness and try again.
Oh, I'll do that. I would love to if I had it with me. Hey, you know what I almost bought the other night, Captain Nick?
A Guinness with?
Port wine and Guinness draft. And I'm thinking, nah, I want to wake up in the morning. So let's see, where was I with this? When storms like Dara hit, they usually travel west to east off the Atlantic through Ireland first, and then on to the UK. So having a good alternate can sometimes prove tricky, as a large area can be showing very similar weather. I've also attached the weather for Shannon, which would be one of the normal alternates for Dublin. It has gusts of 50 knots showing at their time of arrival in Dublin, but this was a direct crosswind, and that would have made this unsuitable. No kidding. Not a lot of airplanes out there have certified crosswind allowances for much over 40-something knots. 50 would probably be out for most airplanes that I can think of. Not ideal diverting to Brussels from an operational point of view, but when options are limited, safety becomes number one. All the usual alternates in the Dublin vicinity were forecast for similar strong winds, so no point diverting to an airport with the same weather that you're diverting away from. Note, I don't work for Aer Lingus, but I do fly 737s and was in fact flying that weekend. To say it was challenging flying was putting it mildly. Better you than me, Darren.
Yeah, that's right.
And he says, I hope this helps to answer Roberta's question. Yeah, great follow-up. Thank you very much for that.
Quite agree. In order to survive 5 years after retirement, you have to be alive when you retire. So
yeah, that's one of the stipulations, I believe. Yeah, requirements. Okay. All right, let's do that. We're going to skip over to number 10, and we just read.
Go on, dude, to Captain Nigel. Go on. No, Captain Nigel.
Okay, let's do
Number
Captain
7.
Nigel. Oh, yeah, good point. Oh, that's right. Let's see.
Sure.
Let me. Okay, I do have the feedback. Number 7. Okay, let's end our show with this piece of feedback from the most prestigious of them all, Hong Kong Nigel. He says, hi, Captain Jiff and crew. Please find attached feedback on APG 651, which was our last show. Just trying to help with your parlous accuracy stats. Like perilous? Okay, I've never seen that word spelled that way. Parlous. Okay.
Full of danger or uncertainty.
Oh, wow. See, he's throwing all this fancy vocabulary out there just to kind of make me even
apparently archaic.
Well, so is Nigel. And I have a feeling that what I just said there will be in audio in a future piece of feedback that he's. You'll understand why I'm saying that.
Certainly.
As soon as I play his audio feedback. Okay. Okay, let's see. It would have been video clips, but the missing APG 651 original audio from YouTube made that too difficult. Okay, sorry to make it difficult for you, Nigel, to make fun of us. Okay, let's play the audio feedback from Nigel.
Hello, Captain Jeff crew, APG community. This is Hong Kong Nigel. Sorry about the sound quality. I'm by the beach in Bali, but as long as it's better than Captain Jeff's recording with the raindrops falling on his head last time, we'll be okay. I just want to get you up to your 50% accuracy, and I'm just going to play you some clips of what you said before.
Oh, boy.
Some of it is about what I was supposed to have said about myself, and then there was a little bit of flack, only light flack, over the Atlantic. What I was supposed to have said about myself.
On the last episode, we received some feedback from Nigel. What do you call himself? Self-promoting. What'd you say?
Congratulatory. And then there was a little bit of flack.
I don't know if I want to do Nigel's little thing.
Nigel's got a little thing.
Nigel.
I've seen him in the shower. I can confirm that.
Nigel's here to hear all this, too.
I know. That's the best part.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
And then he signs off, the most prestigious of them all, Hong Kong Nigel. Wow, he has a very high opinion of himself for having a little thing like he has.
It's a compensatory mechanism.
Oh, yeah. What are you compensating for?
So, having listened to the rival banter from the back of the fourth year classroom, there are two things I'd like to say is, the first one is, Nick's never seen me in the shower, hell, but I suggest you watch out for the next show. And the second thing is actually Captain Jeff in APG 634 that assigned me the illustrious tagline of the most prestigious of them all, which I can't even say. So thank you very much, Captain Jeff. Shall we have a listen?
RJ, one of our APG community members, one of the most prestigious of them all, a resident of the UK, Captain Nigel, did send us some feedback regarding that.
And finally, Captain Jeff, using the best techniques of CRM, can I suggest, Captain, that we adopt procedures used by other airlines for decades, and that is the use of the before start checklist. Maybe you won't forget to turn on the recorders like you did in show APG 651. This is Hong Kong Nigel signing out.
The most prestigious of them all, Hong Kong Nigel. Well, he certainly did set the record straight.
Well, he did, but I think we countered that quite nicely by showing photographic evidence of him post-shower. That's him doing his intelligent look, and there he is post-shower. So that tile was probably about 100 times too large to cover the important bits. I think one of those little face cloths would have been perfectly adequate. But yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, he'll never be able to come back on that. I'm sorry. But yeah.
Wow.
You can tell we've been friends for a very, 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 very
Hong Kong
long
Nigel
time.
is one of the finest men, classiest guys you'll ever meet. And,
yeah.
One of the fondest memories that I'll probably keep with myself for the rest of my life, however short that is my experience of being in a vehicle with Captain Nick and Captain Nigel in England, and them
Serenading.
having a conversation, fighting with each other, not really fighting, bantering. It was very enjoyable. I had a great time just sitting back there, like a what is it, a fly on the wall? Is that what they say? Listening to those two have at each other verbally was very entertaining, and Nigel's a prince of a guy. Having allowed myself to be accommodated in his lovely country estate, and broadcasting at least. Well, I think a couple of shows that we've done there, right? Yeah, at Home and Garden. It was just a beautiful, beautiful place, and Nigel and his wife are beautiful people. So, thank you so much. Why is he a friend of Nick's? I don't know.
I have no idea. And actually, I'm thinking of ending this friendship. But there you go.
Okay. Anyway, thanks, Nigel. It's always entertaining to hear you. And then I love your strategy of using our own words to condemn us. Yeah. So. Yep, time to wrap it up. It's that time of the show. Thank goodness people are saying that we point you over to our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Lots of good stuff there, information about the crew and the community and merchandise and more information about the plane tales. And we have a library, believe it or not, all kinds of great stuff. So please check that out. Oh no, Steph must have done the side swipe.
I think she left on purpose so she didn't have to talk about the Sochmeads.
You're right.
I assumed it was the view of Hong Kong Nigel half naked on his bed. That
she might be using the.
Yeah.
she's kneeling in front of the ceramic goddess. Yeah. And I'm looking at this slide and realizing that I forgot to update that last. And I know I had a couple of weeks to do this, and I didn't do it. So Captain Nick, when you do the YouTube thing, just say youtube.com/airlinepilotguy. That works.
Okay, right. If you're a follower of Facebook, then you can find us at facebook.com/airlinepilotguy, all one word. X, I think we can stop calling it Twitter now. At APG Crew is our handle. And apparently Steph says that we're pinned as individuals to the top of that page. I've never seen it, but there you go.
Kind of hurts.
Instagram is where you'll find most of the artwork, and we occasionally post other stuff there, but rarely. Instagram.com/APG Crew. And the important one is YouTube, because if you want to see the sausage being made or extruded, youtube.com/@airlinepilotguy. That's it.
Excellent job, sir. And let's see. Oh, yeah, he's so consistent. Using up all my water, my fresh water. Hey, hello, can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Not a problem. Come on over here and tell everybody about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right. Thanks a lot, Hillel. Now, put some clothes on, all right?
It's caught in my zipper, Jeff!
How's he get a zipper and a towel?
Well, it's one of those fancy zipper towels.
Duh.
Yeah, duh. You Brits. I mean, you don't know anything about
No, we don't.
towel
Obviously.
life.
Towel tech here.
Towel life.
Don't show your towel privilege.
Well, he knew about this towel.
Actually, I was thinking they was putting. Oh yeah,
I'm
there's
glad
some
there
towel
wasn't a
tech right
zipper
there.
in that one.
There was zip in that one.
Yes,
and
there
we
was
also,
zip. You're
I
quite
see
right.
that the wonderful producer Liz has joined us in the big screen
well done, Liz.
here.
Thanks
Liz,
very much.
very very nice job. Thank you for all your help.
My pleasure.
It's invaluable, and in addition to valuable. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, stop. Paid off. All right, and we'd also like to thank our wonderful live audience. And we always love having you
big
here with
audience.
us.
A lot of ladies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
great.
lot of ladies.
Yeah.
I see there are
think-
none left. They all seem to have gone.
Tanya's here. Tanya's
I
there.
think the word is out now that I'm available. So.
Oh,
maybe
they're
that's the
flocking
part of
around
it.
you like bees to honey.
I'm just saying.
You want to go flocking with those ladies?
Oh, she's back. Yay, Steffi.
Just in time for the end. Ooh, no.
No, we know you did that on purpose so as to not have to do the social meets.
Yeah,
we already figured it out.
Oh, I got out of the social meets? Yes. I mean, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it worked.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
Yeah, I have no
Terrible.
idea what happened there. I was about to say something too, and then I was like, oh,
Tanya's
I'm
there.
sure my
Eva's
face
there.
froze in some sort of
okay.
weird, moment. But
Yeah.
sorry, I don't know.
Well,
All right,
glad-
just in time
welcome
for the
back.
wrap.
Yeah, so we're kind of at the end of the wrap up now. We've
The
already
after
heard from
party.
Hillel. And and we've thanked our wonderful chat room. Thank you, dear audience, for listening to us each and every week with an occasional week off. And we look forward to seeing you again and being in your ear next week. And until then, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody, including Nigel's little thing.
He speaks to it. Uh-oh.
I guess that's it. That's your goodbye, Liz? Okay.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Sounds like you're vomiting.
Yeah, it does. Sounds like
We said that, Steph, the reason why you left was after you saw Nige on the bed with the towel that you had
Oh,
to
that's
right.
go.
Yeah, my illness from last week returned. I was like, oh no.
Oh, we thought
My
you were
stomach
booking.
is suddenly queasy
I
again.
thought you were booking a ticket to Bali immediately.
Oh,
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. What are you?
He
what are you
is.
talking about? Yeah.
Recorder off, Jeff.
Okay, recorder.
Okay, so here are the titles that I have possibly, Nicholas. Chicago hot spots. Chicago hot spot.
Like Chicago hot dogs.
Yeah, sort of like that. Don't pull that lever. Those guys were ejecting. They shouldn't have pulled that lever. APG Ladies Night. APG
I got
Ladies,
Ladies Night.
Okay.
Ladies'
night. A face cloth would suffice.
Oh, what a night! Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah. A face cloth would suffice. That's all I have, unless
That's
anybody.
fine. I got.
Are you good?
Oh, what
I got
a
premature
night.
ejection or ejaculation.
Oh yeah, premature
Right.
rejection.
Treatment. Yeah.
Yeah. Nigel's. All I've written is Nigel's.
Nigel's little thing.
Little thing.
Yeah.
Trust me, Peter, you don't want his little thing in here at all.
No.
Chicago. What's Chicago hotspots?
Well, the hot spots on the
Midway.
runways there
Oh,
at
Midway.
Midway.
Airport.
Remember they were talking about the hot spots.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's Chicago hot spots.
That's a good one from Tim Van Ram.
Where is he?
U.S. Navy fishing
Fishing
tips.
tips.
I quite like
boy.
that one.
Spear fishing with a hornet.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh man.
Oh, this is Maine Marin, and he's talking about Nigel again. Cover up investigation.
Investigation.
Oh boy, Nigel! I can't wait. He's going to have lots of audio coming out back to us.
Oh yes.
Good night, Bill. Bill's signing off there. Anyway, you think you got something to work with there, Jet?
Oh, way too much.
Okay. You've got an embarrassment of riches.
I do. I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I've seen him in the shower, and he certainly does.
Indeed.
Well, thanks so much for everybody in the chat room. It was a great chat room tonight, for sure. All those ladies there were great, fantastic.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Thanks for keeping it together, Liz.
Do you notice it raised the tone of the whole chat room?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Everybody's
Come back
in
next
much-
time, ladies.
Yeah, we need you here.
And some of you guys can come too, if you must.
Even keel.
Oh, just one or two.
Yeah.
All right,
All
we'll
right.
see you next week. I think that we're
Bye.
planning next week. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, folks.
Bye.
Bye.